Untamed is going to be untamed. It's going to be a little crazy. I want to talk to my people. I want to talk to my brothers and sisters. We can have grace and humility in how we interact with other people.
Oh, hot dog, look at you.
And nobody talked about what's really happening.
And let's have conversations about what truth is. Man, good morning, good afternoon. I guess it's good afternoon. We have a pretty amazing podcast today. We'll have two guests. Our first guest is the governor candidate, Scott Bottoms. He is the candidate for the Colorado governor. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about Scott. We got a chance to talk. I kind of got a little bit unglued on all the candidates that were running for governor. I was a little upset. Basically, misunderstanding, you could call it. I lumped everyone together with what is what turns out to be a walk the political line and not have any sort of strength towards what is right and what can restore what's happened in Colorado over the last decade. So let me just tell you a little bit about Scott, and then I'll let him tell you a little about himself. He served as a state representative for Colorado House District 15, El Paso County. He's now in his second term. He has a near perfect score. I think it actually is a perfect score for protecting Colorado's core values: faith, family, and freedom. He advocates for smaller government, local control, and restoring integrity in leadership. And, you know, being in the state house in Colorado is very difficult because it's radical. And the radical things that are happening in this state are giving California a run for their money. The people in Colorado feel like they're held hostage. Let me tell you a little bit more about Scott. He was in the U.S. Navy. He did 8 years, and he's also a lead pastor of the Church of Briargate in Colorado Springs. He's been there for 13 years. He previously was ministered in Strasburg and Rocky Ford, and went to Colorado Springs to, I guess, get a grip for faith back on Colorado Springs. It's pretty tough down there right now. Everyone says that it's the Bible Belt of Colorado, and boy, it's lost its way a little bit. So I'm not going to waste a lot of time because I want to. Actually, you know what? I am going to tell you a little bit about his personal life because I think that's important. He's been married to Linda Bottoms, his beautiful wife, for 34 years. They've raised 3 children, have 2 daughter-in-laws, and 3 grandchildren. He's deeply rooted in Colorado, and frankly, he's running for governor to restore accountability, defend the constitutional rights, and return power to the people of Colorado. So I'm not going to waste a whole lot more time. Scott, welcome to the show.
Yes, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that. It was a great introduction, too.
You know, I came out pretty harsh on pretty much everyone. Some that have run for governor more times than Joe Lewis got hit. But you stepped in. What made you want to run for governor? Let's start there. What made you want to run?
So this is a pretty big answer. I'll give the nice skinny slice of it. But so being a pastor in Colorado now since 1996, I've been a pastor for 35 years actually. And just seeing when I moved to Colorado, and I was born in Colorado, and moved to Texas when I was a kid, came back. I've seen Colorado completely transform into something that is almost unrecognizable. And I don't mean recognizable in relationship to itself, like Colorado has become unrecognizable to Colorado. I'm saying for any state in the United States, or any concept of a free state of the United States, it makes no sense to me what we've done. So I ran for representative. That was kind of outside my wheelhouse. I'd never seen myself as that. And then I really began to think and process, and my time in the state house really made it clear to me, we have got to change the state. I could tell stories right now that of bills we've passed, of conversations that are being had, things that are coming out of the governor's office, that most of the people in the state of Colorado would think I'm making it up. It is so egregious, so bad. And
Give us some examples. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff they've done with abortion, where they basically said late term abortion, the baby could be born, and
Yes.
you can actually kill the baby out of the womb.
Yes, and that is not hyperbole. That's actual fact. You can have well, they call it an abortion, but once a baby's born, I don't understand how the term abortion applies. But you can kill a baby, and the doctors will participate in this, and we know this because we have testimony of people that this has happened. They will just allow the baby to lie on the table until it dies. That's a what we would call a post birth abortion,
And that's happened in Colorado.
That's happened in Colorado. We have specific examples of that we know for sure. I'll give you one example that we tried to pass a bill for 3 years in a row. We tried to pass this bill, and basically the bill was saying that if you buy a child to rape it, they try to use the term prostitution, but you cannot have prostitution for a 12-year-old. Okay, that's rape, and so. We try to pass a bill that says if you buy a child to rape it, you have to serve at least 4 years in jail. And I was very uncomfortable. I sat on the committee. Not only was
just 4 years.
Just 4 years. I sat on the committee and I argued that it needs to be life in prison. In Florida right now, you can get the death penalty for pedophilia.
Yeah.
So in Colorado, we were saying, well, let's just do 4 years. Because why? 90% of the time, these people that are buying these children to rape them are getting off on probation. 90% of the time. So I specifically asked the police officers, sheriffs, different groups that came through that were in law enforcement to answer the question, because they were trying to get us this 4-year sentence. They were trying to help us with this. And I asked, what is the youngest child that you personally have walked in and caught the person raping? And the demographic for the buyer is white males 40 to 45 years old. So the children that they're raping are over 70% minority kids. So I thought for sure the Black Caucus would get on board with this, and they were adamantly against this. But I asked
hold on a second. They were against holding a rapist that would rape a child that's mostly minorities.
Yes, they voted unanimously against it. Not one Democrat voted for it. And I'll give you another one. One of the members of the Black Caucus, she argued that the actual victim was not the child, but it was the buyer. This is recorded. You can go listen to it. Well, right now they're getting off on probation 90% of the time. And the police officers told us that these children, that the youngest that they personally came in on, every one of them said the exact same age, 2 years old. And they're getting off on probation 90% of the time. And the Democrats in the House are voting unanimously to hold them accountable for anything. And I personally said on the committee, I think that they should serve life in prison. And on top of that, I think that they should have a surgery, and I would do the surgery. I volunteered for that mandatory surgery.
Is it surgery or just cut it off? With
just cut it off.
Shears.
Yeah, you can call it whatever. Because I am a doctor, but my doctorate is in an intercultural spiritual leadership, so I think I could do it.
That's pretty good. I mean, spiritual leadership, you can.
I can do a pretty decent surgery for that. So yeah,
we just break the glass and just.
This is where our state has come to, and I just did a recent interview, and this was a national interview, and there were people out in different states that were texting in and saying, there's no way that this stuff is happening in Colorado. I said, just do your homework. I can show you the bill numbers. I can show you what's happening.
Yeah. So, okay. So let's back up. This is law. They can kill a baby outside the womb. You
Yes.
have cases that they've actually done this.
Yes.
You have 90% of the pedophiles in the state of Colorado. So it's a safe haven for pedophiles.
Colorado is the most pedophile-friendly state in the United States, and we're also the most human trafficking-friendly state in the United States, and this is according to our laws. Yeah.
And there was a case up in Fort Collins of a man who was found not competent to stand trial, so they released him back into the public. And he tried to abduct a child off a playground.
Yeah, that was actually in Aurora, and we did 2 different press conferences on this. The reason is because we passed a law in 24. You can look the law up. It was 1034, HB 24, 1034. And this bill basically made it so the bar for finding people incompetent in Colorado just went to the basement. It is so easy to find anybody incompetent now. And I'll give you something here that was irritating to me is we were having these conversations within our groups. I am one when the bill came back from the Senate, and this is the final version of the bill. I am one of 2 representatives, either in the House or in the Senate, that voted no against this bill. And the guy that they had let out, his name was Gallagher. He had tried to kidnap a kid off the playground. This is all videoed. It's on video. He had already been let out 4 other times for incompetency, and now he's trying to kidnap. And he's a transgender, highly a sex criminal,
A sex offender.
sex offender, a bunch of different things within that arena. And he was let out 4 different times, and now they just let him out again because he's incompetent to stand trial, and he's going to go out and do the exact same thing. I've argued this for a long time, but specifically Bill 1034, there is a mentality that we cannot put criminals in jail. We cannot do that in Colorado.
Unless you're Tina Peters.
Unless you're Tina Peters and you actually run against the Secretary of State for office, and then you're open game, yeah. But this is where we've come to in Colorado. We have no respect for the Constitution, no respect for rule of law, no respect for children, parents. I mean, I can go over the litany of stuff that we just blatantly attack in the state of Colorado.
Let's talk about what's happening downtown.
So downtown Denver?
Yeah.
Right. This is, and by the way, it's not just downtown Denver, but that's the most obvious, is it is overrun. So from January to May, I work in the Capitol every day, right? And I used to go out my first year, I went out and I would walk around. I used to bring my kids up to 16th Street Mall all the time when they were young. My kids are all grown now. My youngest is 27. And we'd bring them up to 16th Street Mall. We'd bring our bicycles and bike up on the trails below Spear and all this kind of stuff. And it was beautiful. It was Colorado, right? It was Denver. It was amazing. Now it is overrun by homeless. It is overrun by illegal immigrants. They're everywhere, and they're part of the homeless issue. It is overrun by crime. Colorado is second in the nation right now in crime. This is Midwestern Colorado. Why are we this? Assaults were number 1. Car thefts were number 1. Rape were number 1 in the nation, in the entire nation. And you can't even just go down. This last year, I went one time, I left the Capitol and I was going to walk down 16th Street and go all the way down to Cheesecake Factory, which isn't very far from the Capitol. I couldn't even hardly get down there because of there were tents set up, there are people, homeless people everywhere. Everywhere you go, we've got one of our representatives that would walk around downtown and take pictures of feces on the sidewalk all over the place. And he has a whole webpage devoted just to this. Downtown Denver has turned into a drug-filled homeless arena. It is crazy. Just driving into the Capitol now, very rarely do I drive in the morning where somebody is not tweaking in the middle of the road, and you have to stop and go around them, or hopefully they step off onto the curb. And we talk about how you can't carry guns in Denver, but they're stabbing people left and right downtown. Look at your news articles. It's constantly happening. This is across the rest of the state too. I've had conversations with a lot of people in rural communities that say, well, yeah, all of the crime is in Denver, but it's not. Most of the car thefts happen in rural communities. Most of the fentanyl trafficking of people and carrying of fentanyl is happening in rural communities. The growing of the ultra heightened marijuana that's now out there on the market is happening in rural communities. And so this is a Colorado-wide issue. It's not just a Denver issue.
Yeah, they've made marijuana almost as potent as heroin.
Yes, and intentionally so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talk about fentanyl overdoses. That happens in predominantly wealthy environments as well. So the biggest hit areas are the Highlands Ranch, the Castle Pines, Castle Rock, Colorado Springs.
Boulder has a high influence of fentanyl in it. Extremely high influence there. Yeah.
So I only brought up Denver because obviously they're using these excuses. They had $10 million in employee budget cuts at the city level.
Right.
The state had one of the biggest budget shortfalls they've ever had.
Yes.
Here recently. There's been talk of President Trump cutting off funding and cutting off funding sources to the state. Crime is at an all-time low. Police officers feel like they have no support and that they are forced to let people back out on the street. DAs say that their hands are tied, which they really aren't.
They're not.
And it seems to be an agenda of complete chaos in the state.
Yeah, this is a cultural thing. I was just at an event a few days ago that we were talking about police and police officers, and so the question is, how do we fix the crime issue? And they're saying, well, we need to fund the police better. That I would see. Obviously, I would agree with that, but that's not the issue, and that won't fix the problem.
You can't throw money at a problem.
You cannot, and that's always been the solution for Democrats, and now many Republicans buy the same solution, right?
Right.
But here's what we have to do. We have to change the culture. We have a culture in Colorado right now where the police are the bad guys.
Yeah.
I went to an event where I was speaking as a governor candidate at a medical group, and half the candidates for school board, city council, and all this kind of stuff were getting, Attorney General Weiser also, who's running for governor, got up and said the exact same thing. The police are the problem. The police need to be curbed. The police need to be held back. The police need to be defunded and all this stuff.
I mean, it worked when your kids were young, right? I mean, the kids were young and
exactly.
they did really bad stuff. You're like, oh, I'm just a bad parent because I need to let them do what they want. They have to learn from.
Yeah, if I discipline them, obviously I'm the bad guy, not them.
That's terrible.
But this is what we have got to change this culture that the police are the good guys. I don't care what everybody says, and most people have to throw a caveat in there, right? A disclaimer. Well, the police are the good guys, but we know there are bad guys. There's bad guys in every single thing. When that's your talking point is, well, we know there's bad guys in the police too. That means you're not supporting the police. I believe strongly in the police. I talked with a group of Aurora police officers. I was at an event and there was about 12 of them there as security. And they told me that the Venezuelan cartel in Aurora, that the chief of police of Aurora told them to stand down. That community belongs to the Venezuelan crime cartel. That's a foreign entity. Our Constitution says that the governor's job, one of 3 major jobs he has, is to defend the citizens of Colorado against foreign invaders. We have a foreign invader that has taken up a militant position in a community in Aurora. The police are told to stand down, stay out of there, do not drive in there, do not go in there. That belongs to a foreign invader. This is the culture in Colorado.
So why did the police put up with it?
Well, they're not totally. This is one of the things that I'm also hearing directly from the police in Aurora. They cannot get recruits. It's almost impossible to get new recruits, and a lot of their police are leaving. And I've talked to many that have. Same in Denver. Although Denver's been a lot more liberal from the police director position, police chief and stuff like that for a much longer time frame. You can't get police anymore to want to be a part of Denver Police Department unless they are part of like the activist mentality, which you don't want those people as police anyway. And so it's gotten really bad all over the Denver area.
So cartel mentality.
Cartel mentality. And I'll give you something that's interesting. The Venezuelan cartel released a statement back in the spring. This is the Venezuelan government / cartel. They're the same thing. Okay. Right. They released a statement that talked about how, the cartel is all over the United States. The DEA released a statement that said that Aurora, Colorado is the headquarters for the cartel across the entire United States. So then the cartel releases a statement and says the primary reason the cartel is in Colorado and in the United States is not running children, it's not running drugs, it's to disrupt our political and financial systems. That's what they are in Aurora, Colorado for. Why? So that they can have these revolts and they can have these protests and they can have like BLM Antifa type stuff where they tear the city up. And the Democrats are helping finance this. I can give you exact bills where they've done that. And it's to disrupt the system so they can tear down our republic and rebuild a Marxist mentality in its place.
In the last 7 years, the budget for the state of Colorado has doubled.
Yes.
Crime rate has gone through the roof. Services, education has all gone to the toilet. Education, we've fallen almost 14 spots.
Right.
And this used to be the bastion. This used to be the place where people were proud of the fact that it had a high education standard. It was a safe place. You could leave your door open, even in downtown Denver. And it's not like that anymore. It's completely the opposite, and it feels like it's been done on purpose.
It's intentional. I believe very strongly it's intentional. Colorado Springs was voted, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago, as the number one city in the United States to move
2020.
to. 2020. Yeah, that sounds right. Now they're like 400 and something. Part of the reason is because there are homeless everywhere, and a lot of these are illegal alien homeless all over the place. Crime is up even in Colorado Springs. The idea that somehow Colorado Springs is still this conservative city is just not, it's not playing.
And I talked a little bit about that in the fact that they've taken away the ability for even the church. It used to be you know, focused on the family. You have Womack Ministries, Charis Bible College. You have all these big organizations down there, and yet around it you have this institutional rot.
Yes, and a very unchurched mindset that is setting in, not just unchurched, but anti-church. And even coming back to that, Colorado is also the 6th most regulated state in the United States. Since COVID started, we lost 40% of all of our businesses. And some people say, well, that's the pandemic. No, it wasn't. Many governors opened their states up very quickly after the whole fake pandemic thing that hit the United States, and their states took off. We had many businesses that moved out of Colorado and moved into more friendly states. I know of a few 2A kind of companies like Phoenix Weaponry that they moved out. They moved to Wyoming because they're being attacked. Every law is attacking. You can't start businesses. Yes, Magpul pulled out. You cannot start a business hardly at all in the state of Colorado, and keeping your business running is almost impossible. And now the biggest attack that we're seeing, I mean, we're seeing it on property owners, all kinds of stuff, but now restaurants are having a really hard time staying open in the state of Colorado because some of the new laws this last spring.
So I have to tell you, you talk about these problems, and these problems are exacerbated in the poor community because most of the poor communities then end up being held hostage by crime, held hostage by food deserts, opportunity deserts, education deserts. First 100 days in office, how are you going to fix it?
Well, I've got a few things that are some of my favorites. I can give you a bunch, and a lot of those are on our website. I do have a pretty extensive plan, and we have most of our first 100 days already outlined, what we're going to be doing, and we already have a lot of people that we've kind of are looking at for a lot of our positions across the state, committee chairs, all those kind of things, and a lot of the places that the governor appoints. Okay, but let me give you one example of just specifically within the education realm. So my first priority on the website is that we're going to reclaim parenthood and childhood. Okay, there's a lot of things that go along with that. In fact, and including we're going to be coming after family courts and CPS. That needs to be DOJ. That needs to be cleaned out. There's no accountability for family court judges. All other judges in the state of Colorado theoretically have an accountability process.
I would argue that you have a 90% problem in Colorado with judges.
Oh yes,
it's rotted to the core.
It is rotted to the core, but at least on paper there's an accountability, right? I don't think there's accountability.
But how? I mean, let's talk about that for a minute. You had a Supreme Court in the state of Colorado that voted all the way at the Supreme Court level of Colorado to pull President Trump off the ballot.
Yes,
that actually happened.
Yeah, because they're broken and corrupt. I'll give you a great example that never got any media play, but it got me. My first term as a representative, I'm sitting there, and every single year, your first week or two, you have the State of the State where the governor comes in and talks to all of us. The Senate comes over and comes to our chamber, and we all sit there and listen. And then you have the Chief Justice of the state of Colorado come in, and they give a speech, and you sit there and listen. Well, now we have a new Chief Justice, but my first year we still had the old Chief Justice. And he came in for an hour. He gave a speech about how they're under a lot of investigation because of sexual harassment in the workplace, disrespect for people. There was like 5 or 6 different things they were being investigated for, including financial corruption.
Yeah.
At the highest court in our state.
That case is still going on.
Yes, it is.
It's a QTAM case, a basically sealed v. sealed.
Yes.
That does not allow anybody in the public. We're not allowed to see it, right? And they're trying to get permission from the federal government to go after the state.
Yes.
Corrupt apparatus.
And these people are corrupt. Okay, our Supreme Court is corrupt in the state of Colorado.
Yeah.
You can look at that one stupid vote that displayed how corrupt they are. But the Chief Justice comes into us and he spends an hour talking about all these investigations and everything going on. And then he had the audacity to say this, and by the way, it is recorded. You can go and see if I'm telling the truth about this. Then he has the audacity to say, because it's all sealed, and that's the key as to why he could say this. He said, don't worry, we've done a lot of internal investigations and we have found ourselves to be innocent. And we're supposed to sit there and take that rot. This is who we are in the judicial system in the state of Colorado. One of the things as governor is I'll clean house in the courts.
Yeah, but see, here's the problem, and I agree it needs to happen. At a 90%, I think that in this election, one of the things that has to be paramount when you go out to speak to people is when it comes up where they're going to redo the judges, every one of them is no.
It's always been my policy.
Everyone is no. You know what? I want every single judge. Now, there's a thing that you get, well, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. But that's not the case anymore.
No.
You reset the devils because those devils don't know what they're doing. Now you run the risk of the governor reappointing that person, or you run the risk of, they'll find a way around it because it's never been about the people.
Right.
But there has to be a way. The judiciary is the number one impediment to the will of the people ever being implemented, and they've gotten smart with it.
You have to vote no on all judges in Colorado right now. Now, once I become governor, you don't automatically vote no, because I'm going to be appointing some very strong conservative judges as possible across the state of Colorado.
What do you say as possible?
Yeah, because there's not a lot of conservative judges left. They get run out. They get destroyed in the process. And when they actually make good decisions on the bench, they'll be disciplined, which they should be celebrated for this, but they'll get disciplined and try to get their license revoked. I just sat with his name just escaped me, but the lawyer that has been co-defendant with Trump on a lot of different things here in the state of Colorado. But I'll think of his name, but
Not Gessler.
no, not Gessler.
Don't get me started on Gessler.
No, that's not who I'm. Yeah, no. So
The one that brought Dominion to the table was
Yeah. No, this is he's been sued many times over by lawfare and all the different stuff, and he talks about this at the highest level. He is the one that is seeing a lot of these lawyers that are getting disbarred. But the only reason is because they're conservative.
Yeah.
And they're getting disbarred all over the country. And he gave probably 20 examples of this.
John Eastman.
Eastman, yes,
Yeah.
John Eastman, and he was the one explaining all of this stuff. We were at an event just this last week, and I knew the stuff, but to hear it actually cited with examples, man, it is irritating what is going on across our state. But so coming back to your earlier question, what would I do day one? Let me give you one that is just for education, just for the DEI mentality. As executive order, I can do this. To run an executive order that says no more across any state institution, any state employee, no more DEI, hiring and firing, promoting, demoting, whatever. No more grooming language, which the way Trump said it was when he did this was no more use of pronouns, okay? Well, we have to use pronouns. You're he, I have to say he if I'm talking about you. So we have to use pronouns, but when you start using them to groom, that's when your problem is, okay? Now, I've mentioned.
I don't know if so I don't think that. I think pronouns in use for descriptors, like, hey, he's going to be on the show today. That's fine.
Yes.
But when you have to put he, him, all that should go away.
All that's going to go away, and I will make executive order as governor. No state employee can use that. Not on emails, not on letters, not personally referring to themselves, not referring to a student in the school. And part of the reason is because these kids are getting groomed in schools. They're getting strongly groomed in schools. And this is from teachers, counselors, all this stuff.
Scott, it's happening in the most conservative places.
Yes, it is.
Because the Department of Education in the state of Colorado is pushing down these mandates. And they're hiring these teachers that think the pride flag should overcome the American flag. And it's happening everywhere. No one's getting away from it.
No.
You can say that there's conservative areas and conservative schools, but it's happening everywhere.
It's not just because they might have casual permission. It's because it's being pushed and enabled and financed. I was up at Children's Hospital just a few months ago because Children's Hospital is is under investigation by the FBI and the DOJ
Yeah, for doing surgeries.
for doing surgeries on minors without parental knowledge.
Yeah.
Well, who's bringing them to the hospital?
Teachers.
Teachers, counselors, therapists,
Pastors.
pastors. They're bringing them to the hospital.
You heard about the pastor in downtown Denver?
Yes.
Literally walked two brothers into their parents didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And then went to CPS and had the parents charged with neglect so that they could gain control of the children so they could take them over
Yes.
to have sex change.
Family court and CPS is so corrupt. CPS has a lot of pedophilia. It's ingrained within their system.
Scott, tell me how we get a state that is so ingrained with such bad stuff, and yet we sit on the sidelines and we can't do anything about it. I mean, that we have people inside of our government institutions that are inside of the Colorado system that are here doing harm to our community, and we know what's happening. Like 95%. You could walk out there to the poorest community. Just go to Aurora. Get 20 miles that way. Boom. Go to the middle of it. Ask one of those parents if anyone in the state government stands up for them. What do you think the answer will be?
The answer is no.
So how can we know it? We can see it. We can feel it. We can touch it. But we have no recourse against this evil taking our children. I mean, literally taking them, trafficking our children, grooming our children. We have to go to schools and say, you shouldn't be doing this. To put a book in the school that talks about a second grader masturbating. I mean, come on, Scott, you got to tell me, why is it that we have such a hard time as a community getting rid of this stuff?
Well, we actually tried to read some of the books from the floor of the House.
Yeah, they wouldn't let you.
And they wouldn't let us. And then the excuse they use, get this, so they're fighting with us. They're not going to let us read this stuff. And about 30 minutes into this fight, and the main push on this was Representative Graff.
Right.
And he was trying to read these books, and then they said, and then this group of sixth graders came in upstairs to watch us from the gallery, and they said, so see, now there's kids in here, so we won't read these books. Although we got the books from school libraries that kindergartners can get.
Yeah.
And so here's the thing with the no DEI, the no pronouns, and all that kind of stuff. What I'm going to do is then set up a hotline straight to the governor's office. Okay, not to the administrators, not to the counselors, because some of them are part of the problem. Now, there's a lot of good teachers and counselors out there. I'm not picking on everybody. I'm not going to overgeneralize.
You should though, because the good ones should be standing up for and pushing the bad ones out.
That's always been my argument. But here's what happens is now any student in the state of Colorado can call the governor's office directly and say, this counselor's grooming me. This teacher's grooming me. They are not allowed to use pronouns.
Not now.
Well, no, I'm saying once I become governor.
Okay. All right.
They won't be able to use pronouns. They won't be able to do anything to manipulate the child. Because right now all the pressure is pushing these kids into the grooming talent, all of it. You take the average 13-year-old 8th grade girl, how much pressure is on them to be a boy? You got to act like that. Well, now I want those teachers and counselors across the state of Colorado that are the bad guys, that are really playing the games and hurting our kids. I want them to be scared to death of Governor Bottoms, that we will come after them. And I've had people say, well, teenagers what if teenagers abuse this? Of course they will. Teenagers abuse everything. But we will have an investigation team that will take care of this, and it won't be a witch hunt, but we will take you down if you are hurting our kids. You keep your hands off our kids. I don't care what group you're part of or what group you think you have the right to. That is pedophilia, and you're going to go to jail. Doctors are going to go to jail. Administrators are going to go to jail, because that is child abuse and pedophilia, and it will not exist under my administration.
The administration is always hamstrung by what? Same as it is for President Trump.
Well, in our state, it's the House and the Senate.
Judiciary.
Judiciary
Because
also.
the executive branch is always checked by the judicial branch.
Right.
And that same, trilateral motion of making sure that you have the ability to check each one of they can overrule you, which is what they're looking for, is a supermajority in Colorado.
Yeah.
Scott, I said this to you before on the phone, that the Republicans, let's say that you gain 100% of the Republicans, you still can't win.
That's true.
Okay. So how are you going to get the poorest? You're not going to get the radical left.
Right.
Right? Just give up that 10%. Those loudmouth demons are not going to vote for you. Right? They're a synagogue of Satan. Right?
And I do not expect that. So.
Okay. So now you have to talk about the 90% of Democrats that are out there. And I'm just talking about Democrats. I'm keeping away from the independents right now.
Yeah.
How are you going to get them in the poorest of communities to give you a shot?
Well, we actually have some very good information here that we've been seeing develop for quite a while. I'll give you a few examples. We have had Democrat leadership that have come to us and admitted that they're going to lose seats in the House and maybe in the Senate, but definitely in the House. Okay. Now, I've been shouting this from the rooftops to the Republican leadership. They're a little reticent to listen to me. Some embrace what I'm saying, but we know from our numbers, and we've got this mapped out county by county, vote by vote. We know that we can flip 14 seats in the House in 26. Most of the Republicans are saying, well, yeah, 28's our year. 28's not your year if you don't win 26, because they're going to lock down on the voting machines. They're going to lock down on mail ballots. They're going to lock down. Our elections are broke and corrupt, and they're going to lock it down, and they're going to put more people like Tina Peters in the jail for trying to stop it.
All right, so let's talk. Let me just back up on that because I really want to hit this for the Democrats. You have nearly 70% of the people out there that know the election in 2020 was stolen, but there's been a reticence by the Republicans, especially the establishment, to admit what is going on with our elections. Obviously, you know where I've gone over the last 5 years hasn't been fun. It's been,
right.
And I gave you a tour, so it's obvious that from a tech standpoint, I kind of know what I'm doing. At least I'm faking it. It looks like it.
You fake it well.
Right. So given that, we still have machines, we still have mail-in ballots. You're fighting an uphill battle, which means you have to convince Democrats and you have to convince independents that are left-leaning that taking a chance on you is going to be like they have nothing to lose.
Yes.
So what is that pitch? I mean, the machines and mail-in ballots, they got to go.
Yeah.
And if they don't go in 2026, our country's done and we're all dead.
Yes.
That's what I believe.
I believe that strongly. So a lot of the information that we're getting now, we do all of our own polling, statistics, analytics. We've got great teams that do that across the state, right? Okay. We've been doing this since December. We know where we need to get these votes. We know we need 350,000 Democrat votes from Denver to Fort Collins, including Boulder. Well, here's the information that is actually coming into us that's way stronger than what we thought was going to happen. We thought we were going to be pulling teeth for every single one of these Democrat votes, but it's not going to be as difficult as we thought. Still going to be an uphill climb, but here's the reason. 80% of the state of Colorado do not like the idea of the grooming. Okay, that is a solid statistic you can check on a lot of different sources. That means Democrats, Republicans, unaffiliated independents, libertarians, you can't have 80% of the state without having most of the Democrats involved.
Okay. Well, let me. I mean, I need to stop you there. A part of every platform has not talking about the reality of the Democrat voter, which is that the machines and mail-in ballots are largely selecting who gets into office.
Yes.
So, are you prepared to talk about the fragility of the election machines and the mail-in ballots and how corrupt it's been for the last 20 years? I mean, is that even a part of your platform?
Yes, it's a major part.
And how do you talk to the Democrats about that? I mean, it should be the first thing out of your mouth, because the disenfranchisement, by the way, is not me.
Right.
Like, I'm not disenfranchised. I can just up and move to Texas.
Right.
I can go anywhere I want. When you go to the poor communities, where crime comes in like a tidal wave, and you have food droughts or deserts. I mean, talking places where Walmart's like, I'm done.
Yeah.
They've robbed the house. I'm finished.
Right.
Or education deserts where the teachers are some of the worst you're ever going to find, and the kids are treated like animals by the police, and it's a school to prison pipeline that was created. How are you going to give them back their voice if you don't talk about the fact that your vote's already stolen, your voice is already stolen? They've already forgotten about you in the Democrat Party.
Yeah. I tell you, one of the big things that makes it easier, I do talk about this everywhere I go. This is a major subject for me because I've looked at the numbers. I've watched where entire districts were, their votes were stolen. They didn't actually have a voice. Well, if you go, it doesn't matter which district, if you go to a Republican district or a Democrat district or a largely unaffiliated or whatever, if your vote is stolen in one district, it can be stolen in any district. So here's the thing that's happened a couple weeks ago that everybody is up in arms about. Some are positive, some are negative, but this guy that bought the Dominion voting machines, and he's changed it to Liberty whatever, okay? Well, I see all over the place online, I see Republicans shouting this as a major win, okay? Here's my problem with that concept, is the reason they're saying it's a win is because now we've got somebody on our side, theoretically, although I don't think the guy's on our side, but that's my opinion.
You talking about Liberty Vote?
Yes.
Yeah, the guy's, he wrote an email that said business as usual, don't worry about it.
Yes.
You know, different name, same business, right?
Well, here's my argument. Let's say this guy's a hardcore conservative.
He's not.
He's not. I've been trying to tell Republicans that, but they're not listening to me.
He's terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. But let's say that he was like Trump's son, Barron, okay? And he's the most conservative guy out there, whatever. I don't want anybody messing with our elections.
Right.
Conservative, liberal, it doesn't matter. If I win governor because some guy tweaked the votes, then I'm not really the choice of the people, and I will not be able to do what I need to do, okay? So here is part of it. Let me give you a little bit of a good news kind of thing with this, that I think potentially we're going to have this is theoretically potential we're going to have a secure election in 26, all right? And it's not because we're going to do away with the machines. We can't do that between now and then, probably. I mean, there's an outside chance, but we can't do away with mail-in balloting. I mean, I know Trump is pushing that, but get it done before 26.
100% we can.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
So
he can.
He can.
He absolutely can.
He can, but is he gonna?
If he declares war and says that we're in a state of complete disrepair and that there's a coup happening, which there is.
Yes,
I mean,
without
you
a
could
doubt.
argue, no, I mean, it doesn't matter what he rules on, they stop his progress.
Yes.
That's a coup.
Yes.
So if he does that and creates military tribunals and arrests 50,000 people, including the people that own the election systems,
Yes.
shuts it down and says we're not doing mail-in ballots and we're not doing machines, we're going to go to hand count, paper ballots, we've already have the system in place,
Yeah.
then at that point, you have a big chance. You have a fighting chance.
If we go to actual ballots, hand count ballots,
Yeah,
and we don't do machines,
Yeah.
I'm the next governor.
right.
If we actually count all the votes, I'm the next governor. We haven't been counting votes in many states, but Colorado probably leads the way. Really fighting hard against Michigan for number one most corrupt. But yeah, I'm the next governor. And so, but here's what I think is potentially, well, this is some of the facts, and then I'll give you my opinion on this. But so right now, Secretary of State Griswold and the state of Colorado, they're under investigation by the DOJ for the 20 election.
2022.
24 election. I don't think the 22. Are they on the 22?
I don't know anything, so
Okay. I get you.
I'll tell you. You know.
So let's say just the 20 and the 24 right now. And theoretically, they cannot monitor the 26, but I think that's part of the subject too. But here's the thing. They're also investigating the BIOS passwords release of Jenna Griswold, where she released over 600 passwords.
She's going to prison.
I believe I've been saying this for months and months. Griswold will be indicted before the 26th election.
100%.
So will Attorney General Weiser.
100%.
Because
you and I had this conversation, and I was like, okay, all right, you do know a few things.
and on top of that, they're also investigating the Arapahoe County anomalies during
You
the
mean
election.
Matt Crane anomalies.
Yes, right.
Because Matt Crane is the head of the Colorado County Clerks Association, and he is the henchman that was closely related to Wayne Williams,
yes, who brought the machines?
who brought the machines with
A Republican.
Scott Gessler.
Yes, a Republican that brought
Yeah.
the machines. So here's the thing. Now, if you go back to the time when Tina Peters was arrested, because this all came from Tina Peters, Trump's lawyers coming and talking to Tina Peters. Okay, Tina Peters, 20 years from now, people will look back in history and realize that one of the most influential people in the state and one of the people that was on the right side and did so much for the state of Colorado is Tina Peters. When she copied that stuff onto that hard drive, and the Democrats came after her for doing her job. Okay, I am sick and tired of Republicans saying she's a distraction, she belongs in jail. We just did a governor forum Saturday night, and Senator Kirkmeyer, a Republican running for
Terrible
governor,
human being. Terrible.
stood up and said, "I will not let Tina Peters out of jail." Well, part of the reason for her is because she was best friends with the lady that was the president of the clerks association at that time, right? It's all part of the problem.
And closely related to Pam Anderson, who interfered with Tina Peters becoming the Secretary of State nominee for the Republican Party.
Interfered greatly with that.
And they stole that. That was in 2022 when Tina ran. I picked up the anomalies and said, here's what it is. I sent all the information to the FBI, to all the CISA. I was like, look, it's blatantly obvious that Pam Anderson did not win this nomination.
Yeah, but if you control the machines, and here's part of the subject that has to be addressed and will be addressed by this investigation, all these investigations. The Democrats are not the only ones got their hands in the pie when it comes to controlling the machines.
Two wings of the same bird, Scott.
Yes.
Two wings of the same bird.
Yes, and so all of these Republicans that keep saying Tina needs to be in jail, when I'm governor, I'm going to ask for a formal apology from all of them, and I think they should all be censored and removed from the Republican Party. When you're saying that one of the people that defended our party, defended truth, and defended our rule of law and our voter system, which voting is the most important thing that we have as citizens, our vote. And you got Republicans that are part of this conversation all over the state. I'm done with those people. But either way, so because of these investigations and some other investigations that I won't talk about that are more on the sedition of America side, not just the voting issues.
I'm very familiar with those.
But what I think, this is now that's all facts. Let me give you my posit, okay? And I'm sure this is more hopeful than it is actual, but here's what I think. Tina Peters, Attorney General Griswold will both be, not Tina Peters, Secretary of State Griswold, Attorney General Weiser, they will both be indicted before the 26th election. Because of that, there will be so many people. Griswold's second in command right now. That guy is a spineless wonder. I think he'll actually turn state's evidence.
There's a few of them, and I actually, this is what we found in Dominion voting systems. Is it was very easy to flip people that used to work on the systems and the machines.
Yeah.
I got to keep a little bit quiet on that because I still have the Eric Coomer deal. But when you have people that are radically involved in tilting elections, and your senators here, you've got to rely on people that are inside that system, which is how they got this case against Weiser and Polis and these judges. It's because people on the inside were like, "This is nuts." Like I'm a Democrat, and what you're doing is absolutely disgusting.
Well, and this is coming back to some of the earlier question. This is how some Democrats across the state of Colorado will vote for me, is because they're recognizing when all of a sudden the indictments come down and we start seeing evidence displayed publicly, a lot of these Democrats are kind of on the fence. They want to be good, loyal Democrats, but they know not only are we grooming our kids, not only are we destroying our state in crime, but we also know that internally we are lying to the people of Colorado and we're playing with their vote. And everybody wants their vote to be counted no matter which party you are. And unaffiliated, a lot of them, they're watching this vote corruption stuff. That's one of the biggest subjects to the unaffiliateds, is the vote corruption. So I think there's a possibility because of that, and because there will be so much investigation around this and so much going on, I think this might be one of our more secure elections we've had in 20 years. I think fear alone will keep people's hands off the knob.
No, because fear should have done the same thing with President Trump. Yeah, I hate to say it to you, but I'm just going to tell you that if I was a betting man, I would tell you that they've already doubled down on double green zeros, and they're going to do it all over again because they keep winning.
Yeah.
Right. And the left is anything other than shameless. And when they're desperate, desperation sets in. They don't care. They already know they're going down anyway, so they're going to do everything they can to maintain the charade. Yeah. And you saw that today. There was a thing that Decker put out that Matt head of the Colorado County Clerks Association. Matt.
You just said his name.
What is wrong with me? I hate that guy. Okay, hate's a strong word. I probably shouldn't say hate. I don't hate anyone. I pray that he redeems himself or goes straight to hell when he dies.
Well, Trump said he hates people.
Yeah.
I don't hate people, but Trump did. did say he hates people.
Look, the last 5 years have been hard on me. I live in a house with bulletproof glass and thermal cameras.
Yes,
I mean, it's hard for me not to hate people. It's hard for me not to want to punch people right in the face. Right?
My security in all kinds of different layers of life. Now, I don't have a security team. I don't know if I should say that publicly, but my security at my church is amazingly strong because if I speak truth, you speak truth. The left doesn't have dialogue. The left will assassinate you on a campus in Utah.
Yeah.
That's what the left does. The left
he got betrayed too. I mean, I'm going to tell you what he did. I know way too much about that investigation and what came out of it.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you two things. One, he wasn't shot by a 30-06. I know guns really well. I know the ballistics of a gun. It's not even possible for you to reduce the charge, have a 6-inch drop, shoot a 30-06, and it not blow his neck right off his body. Even if it was a ball round, you could have it, but it wouldn't stop. It wouldn't have stopped at his spine.
Yeah.
Impossible. Not improbable. Impossible. Like literally impossible.
I've read some stuff about that too.
But also given that, it's been soup salad where they wouldn't let people investigate. So they wouldn't let the local police investigate and do their job. They took full control over a state crime scene. And what's come out of that is that the amount of Judases, this is what I worry about with President Trump and a strong candidate on your side, right?
Right.
Which I'm going to ask you some tough questions here in a minute about that. There's still, you have the independent vote, you have the Democrat vote, you have the Republican vote. Let's say you get 100% of the Republican vote and they say, okay, we're going to give you a chance, Scott. The Democrat vote, you're going to talk about opportunities. Independent vote, they're disenfranchised with both sides.
Yeah.
So how are you going to then win this group, largest group voting bloc in the state of Colorado?
52%.
So how are you going to handle that group and not compromise on your values?
Well, I think compromising on our values is what has driven a lot of people, at least from the Republican Party, into that group. I talk to people all the time, not like 10 or 20, but like hundreds and hundreds of people, that the reason that they're independent or affiliated is because they felt betrayed by the Republican Party. That the Republican Party spends all of its time fighting, and the only time they are actually getting engaged, they're trying to be some kind of spineless thing in the middle. Well, people don't respect that. It doesn't matter which party you are, they don't respect that.
Are you pro-life?
I'm pro-life to the core. There is no such thing as in case or except for cases. If you believe that babies can be murdered, it doesn't matter when you put rape or incest in there. That just means you believe babies can be murdered. I believe that babies should not be murdered under any circumstance. Rape and incest is not a caveat that says that baby did something that deserves dying for.
But the person that raped that individual should face the death penalty?
Oh, I believe that. I am a death penalty person to the core. That's not possible in Colorado, but who knows what our future will hold. If we have enough people in Colorado that get sick and tired of their kids getting raped, possibly maybe they could actually stop being a Democrat and vote for something that is legitimate.
Let me ask you a question. How do you think we got here from a public standpoint, where teachers act the way they do and they've captured different institutions of education specifically? If you were to look at that specifically, just look at that. Do you think it's a social contagion? Do you think it's? I have a video I want to show you, and there's a reason why I want to show it to you, because it shows you just how weak the mind is, and me and Father Mahana talked about this yesterday, about how easy it is for a lie to take hold, but a truth going out in the thing, people resist it.
Yes.
It's almost as if they innately know it's a truth, but they don't want. It's a hard truth. They don't want to accept it, right?
Yeah.
I want to play this video. Let's go ahead and play it.
This video should terrify you. She's part of an experiment, but she doesn't know it. Now you see these people, they're in on it. You see, she's facing the elevator exit. They're facing a wall that leads to nowhere. But because they're all doing it, watch what she does. She eventually folds and turns towards the wall, heading nowhere. Now maybe she was just a follower, but now the guy in the white shirt is part of the experiment. Everybody faces towards him. He looks confused, but in a short period of time, he turns around and conforms. Now this is where it really gets crazy. He's the victim, right? They walk in and they face him, and he looks really, really confused. Eventually, he folds like everybody else. But then he starts to spin exactly like how they're spinning. Crazy, right? The harsh reality is that this is how most people are. It's easy to laugh and say that you would never be a sucker that does this, but most people don't understand the magnitude and how much people they're around affect their behaviors. It would be wise for you to be careful about who you're around, because everybody's a free thinker until they're in a room with a bunch of people facing the wrong direction.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen that in the House of Representatives, where, well, they're my friends, so I have to vote for their bill, or we're all kind of leaning this way. And this is where I stand up and gripe many, many times. Just because you're saying that the group should think this way. In fact, there's a part of me, and I'm sure it's a rebellion mentality, I don't know, but groupthink pushes against me. I don't do groupthink. When I see that, there's a natural resistance that says if we're all thinking the same way, and specifically if we're all using the same terminology, Rush Limbaugh taught me this 20 years plus ago, 25 years ago, is when everybody's using the exact same terminology, it's intentional and it's manipulative. There's coercion involved.
Right.
And but I tell you, there's a bigger thing when it comes to the culture that you're talking about. We have been under attack. Now, the education system has been under attack literally for 100 years. How you try to get the socialist communist mentality built into the education system has been very effective in that. But I think there's also something, the way you said it earlier is the actual truth of this, and it actually comes out of the Bible. And it says in the last days, people will believe a lie. Now, that doesn't mean that they are believing something that they have been deceived into thinking it's truth, but it's a lie. That's not what it says. It says they will believe a lie. They know it's a lie. They know they are being deceived. And the Bible says that all lies come from Satan. He's the father of all lies. Mm-hmm. That means Satan is trying to manipulate and to disseminate untruth, lies to us, and that we are choosing, naively, no, I think intentionally, choosing to believe the lie that is being presented to us. That means you are giving up yourself in that process. You are surrendering yourself in the process. That's where this is a spiritual thing more than it's a physical thing. It just plays out into the natural realm of humanity.
So one of the reasons why I personally have had an immense amount of success, why I'm under fire a lot, is that people go, well, Joe, you have to have some proclivity. You have to have something that you have in your life that is bad. That, I don't cheat on my wife. I don't watch porn. I don't, there's like a lot of I don't do drugs. I don't drink. So I have all these things I stripped away.
Right.
When you're having a conversation with somebody in the public, they're looking at you and they're like, they want to find a way to demonize you. The Democrats got to find a way to come after you. So how are you going to handle that? How are you going to handle that you're too conservative? How are you going to handle that you want to take away their rights, their right to their own body, my choice?
Yeah. Well, first, I'll just address that statement. I believe very strongly in your body, your choice. Let me give you an example. When all of the COVID stuff hit and the pandemic and all that stuff, I still pastor my church. We never closed the doors. We never one time masked, distanced, or any of that stuff. Why? Because you have the right to your own body.
Right.
If you want to put a vaccine in your body, go ahead. If you don't, you cannot and should not be made to by the government. Why? Because you are in charge of your own body. The problem with the subject when it comes to abortion is it's not your own body. There's another body inside. It's a different person. They have different DNA than yours. It's connected to your DNA. You can find the familial connection, but it's not the same DNA. That means it's a different human being, and you do not have a right to kill a different human being. Okay? Definitely this idea, you cannot murder babies. That's how simple it should be stated. So things like taking rights away, I don't believe in taking rights away. The gay community can be the gay community. I disagree with it biblically, and I've had conversations with a lot of homosexuals, a lot of the gay community, which, by the way, the gay community supports me quite a bit against grooming children. Yeah. Gays Against Groomers, the guy that used to be a state chair is a good friend.
He's a good guy.
And I've had many conversations, and we discuss homosexuality too in a biblical sense. We've discussed that for a lot of hours. But the idea that I'm going to take rights away, I'm not going to take, if you're a dude and you wanted to wear a dress, I'm not going to take that right away from you. But the moment you start trying to do that with children, I think you should go to jail for the rest of your life. That is pedophilia. Keep your hands off our kids. That's not a right somebody has. A person does not have a right to sexually abuse a child, to sexually abuse to the point of surgery and hormonal therapies and all that stuff. That's not a right. Okay, I believe definitely in the rights of people. I believe in First Amendment right. Anybody that wants, and I've done this. I've said this. I've had this in town halls. I had this in meet and greets and all kinds of things where Democrats are there and they disagree strongly with what I'm saying.
All right. What about let's call it all the dog whistles, prison reform, taking care of the poorest among us,
Yeah.
getting crime down. Do you think we should have a universal red flag law? Do you think we should restrict more of the Second Amendment? I mean, there's just things in there that want to get rid of semi-automatic weapons. That makes basically the only thing you have is it's probably the most draconian law that's come into play in the country.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of red flag laws for a bunch of reasons, but because I do get this. People ask me, and I've been a pastor for 35 years. I have worked with a lot of mentally ill people. Okay, I've worked with people counseling and all kinds of things. Let me give you a little example with some of the transgender stuff that we're processing. Years ago as a counselor, when somebody would come to me and they'd been cutting themselves, and cutting was a big deal 15, 20 years ago. Well, it's even become a bigger deal now. We're just moved from cutting our arms and legs to genitals. It's still mental illness.
Right.
It still needs to be addressed on a mental and a spiritual illness level. The problem is we don't address it like that because now the state has actually made this, enabled it, and funded it. You know, we're the #1 destination state in the United States for transgender surgeries, paid for by the taxpayers. So anybody in the United States can have a transition surgery in the state of Colorado. This is why I tried to pass the bill that said if you're bringing minors across state borders for abortions or transition surgery, that's trafficking and that's a felony. Because children do not make those decisions.
Right.
Adults make it for them.
Right.
And so we're pushing all of these things, and then we use red flag laws to say, so for example, Trump 3 or 4 weeks ago said, well, let's say that all transgenders cannot have guns. Okay, that was his version of kind of a red flag law.
I agree with it.
Okay, right.
Sorry.
No, I don't disagree with the concept. The problem is the application and the Second Amendment. When you say to one group, okay, Trump's president now, you say let's say no transgenders can have guns. Okay, how do you define that? Who defines all that stuff? But here's the thing: when he's not president, and they say no Christians should have guns, that's just the next version of the same thing.
Yeah, no, I think you have to tie it back to, again, I have 3 gun stores, 5 ranges, largest seller of guns and ammo in the state of Colorado, right? And we turn away lots of people for buying guns.
Yes.
We ask critical questions at critical times, and some people get pissed off about it, but we do it to not harm them, right? Not them wanting to harm themselves, and we have a very good track record that we've been able to develop as a result of that, being responsible, right? Because we have the ability to deny anyone on the 4473.
Right.
But my issue is that we've never attacked the problem, and I guess I want to leave you with that, and I want to continue this conversation. I do have one more question I'm going to ask you. It's going to be a little sharper about who you're running up against, because you have 19 other or 20 other candidates.
I think it's like 22 or 23. It's hard to keep up.
But when we stop holding big pharma responsible for psychotropic drugs and doing the things they do, we stop holding them responsible for autism and putting out vaccines that have child victimology that's affecting their lives for the rest of their lives. When we stop addressing the problems themselves and allow for them to do what they're doing in the schools and grooming children and letting Children's Hospital cut off little boys' penises.
Yeah.
When you allow that to happen as if it's some sort of science experiment, we have Frankenstein. We never get to the problem. We're only servicing the symptoms, and it never gets better for the people. I think we've proven that over 3, 4, 5 decades.
Sure.
Right? So as you walk in to handle this problem, just 5 things. Are you prepared to doge the state?
Yes.
And
Day
cut,
one.
cut the budget by 40%,
CDOT
50%?
being the first one.
Gone?
I don't know about gone, but gutted in such a way that they cannot have the corruption. The corruption of CDOT is at billions level.
I mean, look, they sold off roads
Yes.
to Australian companies,
Yeah.
and we have hundreds of millions of dollars every month that are shipped off to a foreign land.
But it's
Right.
not just them. Across the board, I've sat in that house for 3 years. I have watched deals being made with lobbyists and representatives, both sides of the aisle, by the way,
Right.
of millions of dollars under the table. It's not even under the table anymore. They're not scared of anybody. They're not scared of the law.
Because there's no accountability.
There's no accountability. We will doge everything in the state. And eventually, and I've been saying this for months and months, I know that some Republicans are starting to get on, governor candidates are starting to get on board with this, and I'm hearing they're copying my language on this. We eventually need to get to, and this is going to be a big climb, but we need to get to zero-based budgeting, not this goofiness that we start with last year's budget and add to it. Since Trump's been in office, we've gone from $29 billion to $45 billion budget. I can cut $10 billion off the top without even trying. I sit on appropriations. I watch these bills come through. Most of them are shell games. We have not passed a balanced budget in the 3 years I've been in the House. The Democrats and Republicans say we're passing the balanced budget, but we're not. I vote against it every year because it's a lie. It's a shell game, and everybody's part of the game. We know we're not cutting
And,
that,
free, and
those
cash
monies.
that goes to NGOs,
Yeah, I can
and
hear
for
you.
jobs, and
Yeah.
all of those things. All right, so I want to ask you a pretty tough question. You know, we had this conversation, and I put something out on X, and I said, listen, I'm out on all of them, and part of it is because I lumped you in with everyone. Because I was upset over the fact that we lost Space Force, or that losing Space Force was an impediment to Colorado. We didn't deserve to have it,
Yeah.
right? We shouldn't have the number one security interest in the military complex in a state that is basically captured. Would you agree
Yes.
that the state right now is captured?
Without a doubt.
Okay. So there's only really I told everyone. I told basically to everyone, I'll give you an opportunity to come on and talk to me, right? You have not, by the way, you have not walked away from one question I've asked you.
I won't.
In other words, you haven't done the shuck and jive and move to the side, right? Well, I believe, and you didn't do all that, right?
That stuff drives me crazy.
There's another candidate in the race, Victor Marks, who has come out really strong, and I truly think it comes down to the two of you. Now, between the two of you, let's say you win. Are you going to invite him into your camp to be a part of fixing Colorado? And let's hypothetically say he wins. Do you join Victor in fixing the state of Colorado? Tough question it's a challenge on humility, and I don't know what his answer is either. I chose to have you on first.
Yeah. Well, this answer may
Did
not
you
be
just
what
kind
you
of
were expecting.
go do something else in 2008?
Can you?
So here's the answer. I've known Victor for a while. I thought he was my friend. I talked to him before the day that he declared, and I talked to him about some things, and he threw me under the bus and lied about me in public, which was not what I expected. At that point, I actually had thought about this and talked about with my campaign team that maybe he could be a guy that could be my lieutenant governor. This was long before he started talking about being governor. And I'm going to be very careful how I say this, but since then, there's been a bunch of stuff that has come to light. I have had conversations with State Department employees, CIA employees, previous CIA.
I wouldn't give any whole lot of credence to the CIA guys.
Yeah,
just so
right. I understand how that works. Border Patrol in Texas, ICE, elected officials around the states that are governor's office level, and their teams, and they have revealed a bunch of stuff to me about Victor Marks that will be coming out over the next few months. Because of that, not because of my previous relationship with Victor. If you would have asked me this 2 weeks ago, I'd have said, sure, I can work with him. I could bring him into my group. I cannot say that anymore, and the reason is because I know a lot more stuff that's going to be coming out, and I will not work with him under any circumstances.
So I'm gonna leave this with you just as not trying to teach the teacher, but I will say this: if you go to my Wikipedia page, you'll get one side of me.
Yes, same with me.
The first 8 people that work for me, they still work for me, right? It's still inside of my company. I've been married to the same woman for a long time. You've been married a long time. The things that they've said about me, yeah, I am a hard ass. I will tell you right now, I can hold a Fabergé egg, or I could smash somebody in a minute, throw them around like a rag doll. I choose peace, but it's not because I'm not capable of war. So there's a lot of things that people have said about me of late. I mean, I had to settle something up today. People that said that they were my friends,
Yeah.
that walked around disparaging me in public, doesn't make it true.
Right.
So I know you have a forgiving spirit, because I was pretty pissed, and I basically went after everybody, right? And you're sitting in front of me right now.
Right.
I just think that the strength of the two of you, because I basically said, I'm not going to get in the race.
Yeah.
But I won that straw poll 72, 74% in 2022,
Yeah.
which would have eliminated everybody
Right.
at the caucus. I don't think I'm the guy that wants to be
Yeah.
in that race. But I want to leave you with the fact that maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. You bring a lot of things to the table that I think restore that integrity to a position that has lacked it for decades. But are you willing to mend fences with strength?
Yeah.
Can strength and strength operate in the same environment regardless of who prevails in that environment?
Yeah, and I told Victor when I talked to him that afternoon, I'm never going to attack him. If all this stuff that I'm seeing, and I'm seeing data, not just information, if all this stuff is true, I can't work with him. I literally can't. If it's not true, I can work with him. I can work with anybody. That's not my problem. My problem is not, I don't have an ego that says I can't. But if this stuff is true, then the corruption is at extremely high levels, and I can't do that. I could not bring that into the administration. And it didn't matter whose name would be attached to it. At this level, it would be very frightening to bring that into the administration.
Right.
Now, again, and I'll say publicly right here, if all that stuff is proven to be not true, sure, I can work with it.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm going to ask him the same question,
sure.
right? I think I owe it to both of you.
Yeah.
How do people follow you, and how do people give and support you?
So scottbottoms.com, that's the website. There's a giving portal on there. There's a few options. You can go to WinRed, Anodot, all this kind of stuff. We definitely need a lot of campaign contributions. We know Bennett's going to have probably 50 million, right? We believe we can do it with 7 to 10 million. We know that our grassroots ground game will eclipse anything Bennett's doing. And also you can send out emails, you can send out videos, you can look at the stats of stuff that I'm saying. Don't take for granted that I'm telling the truth. Look up the information, Google stuff. Don't go to Wikipedia, they don't like me.
They don't like me either.
But there's a lot of good information out there. There's a lot of stuff that I'm doing that you can get involved with. My priorities are on the website, who I am. I mean, I'm not shy about this. And I've told anybody that's ever interviewed me, ask me the most difficult question. I don't care. I do have a way that I think about things, and I believe it, and you either like that or you don't.
Yeah.
You know?
Scott, thanks for giving me the time.
Hey, I appreciate it, sir.
You. Absolutely. All right, we're going to take a break. Let Scott go, get on the campaign trail again, and when we come back, we will be joined by our next guest who's been waiting patiently. So we'll be right back.
My first time here shooting at the shooting range.
How's it going? It's also my first time, and I'm really excited.
It's also my first time here, first time shooting guns.
My day off of work, and they were like, hey, you want to shoot some guns? That was awesome. The revolver is crazy. I will definitely come again.
Yeah, it was awesome. Really cool experience.
100% bringing my friends here another time.
I like to come shoot because I get to spend time with my family. Same for me, I love spending time with my family. It's something to do.
It's a lot of fun shooting.
When I first moved back into town. The first place I came was DCF Guns, and I signed up for a membership right away.
I got into shooting because of self-defense. I would encourage all women to be ready and to feel comfortable handling a handgun.
This was my first time ever shooting at DCF West. It felt amazing. I shot an AR-15 and it was amazing. It was powerful and I loved it.
I'm here today as a part of a group of women that support one another in continuing to practice and refine our knowledge.
Not only self-protection of ourselves, but protection of our loved ones as well.
I have fun and I get to meet with other ladies.
You should always be prepared to defend yourself.
And I love coming to DCF Guns West to shoot. I come with my family. It's a nice, clean, friendly range. Here I feel safe. I feel like the people to my left and my right are also really cognizant of their range etiquette. That's why I come to DCF Guns West.
Come join the DCF family today, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter. Hey, this is just in from Fidelity. Gold could hit $4,000 an ounce as the Federal Reserve cuts rates to cushion the U.S. economy. The dollar drops and the central bank keeps adding holdings. Gold has been on a record-breaking tear over the last few years, and it doesn't look to be slowing down in the years to come. Are your savings protected with precious metals like gold and silver? Are you waiting for gold and silver to shoot even higher in price? I want you to call my gold partner, Goldco, today and learn more about what precious metals can do for you. That's 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. You'll get a free 2025 gold and silver kit, and you'll get info on the #1 precious metal offer in the game, where you can get up to 10% back in bonus silver just for getting started. But supplies are limited, so don't put it off. Call my gold partner, Goldco, at 844-960-GOLD or visit untamedgold.com. That's 844-960-4653 or visit untamedgold.com.
Trick or treat? At DCF Guns, it's all treats this Halloween. We're handing out spooky good deals, king-size candy, and everything in between. Forget the chocolate, our sweets come in the form of savings you won't want to miss. Visit DCFguns.com and shop our spooky deals today. DCF Guns, where we keep the range hot and the deals hotter.
All right, hey, it's great to be back. Sorry, I took a little bit of a break to welcome or to walk Scott out. I'm not going to waste a whole lot of time on bringing our next guest because I've got a lot of questions for him. And let me just, if I can, his name is Dr. Rose. He's a surgeon. So he was in a surgery and came out of a surgery to come join us. He has a background in U.S. intelligence. He was with the U.S. military for over 20 years. He's got a pretty rare inside perspective on national security, covert operations, and homeland defense. So we'll be talking a little bit about that. But he also is a doctor. So he's a board-certified surgeon, combined precision in medicine with a strategic, mission-oriented mindset. That means he's smart and he knows it, and he doesn't let he doesn't let common sense go, which is a rarity. You know, I've got some friends that are doctors, and they don't have a lot of common sense. They're really good at golf, though, so that's why I like to hang out with them. So I'm not going to waste any more time. Dr. Keith Rose, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Just to correct the opening, I didn't have much time to talk to your producer. I've been in the intelligence world for over 20 years.
Oh.
I kind of got pulled out and pushed in, so to speak. So.
You mean you're not officially in the U.S. military, but attached to
I was in the military.
You were? Okay.
It was back during the Clinton years. There wasn't a whole lot going on. And was spotted and assessed and then ended up in the intelligence world to this day in the intelligence community. And I've worked in Afghanistan, Pakistan, Iraq, Central South America, all the garden spots.
You
Somalia.
Work in North Africa? You were in Somalia? I was in Somalia.
Yeah.
Where were you? When were you there?
I checked off a bucket list. I was off the coast of Somalia. We were getting back a ship called the SL Irene that was hijacked back before the oil tankers decided to have armed people on them, you actually had to go back and get the ship back. And so I was there, and we exfilled out of Mombasa. So we were in
Mombasa,
right next door. Yeah.
So you went all the way through Malindi to get to Mombasa.
We were dragged out there basically in the middle of the night, and got to take a cruise down to South Africa, and got out of international waters in Durban, South Africa, and flown home. It was a fun trip.
So I know that area very well, and I remember being in Somalia, in Mogadishu, and also on the shoreline, because that's where the pirates hung out, and we were trying to solve the pirate issue back in 2009. So I ran into CIA guys pretty regularly, and they would always ask me who I was, and I was like, I'm nobody. And you could. I mean, the Doctors Without Borders, terrible. Lots of CIA in there. Were you ever in that?
I was not. I came into Afghanistan after 4 Doctors Without Borders guys were killed, off the Darlaman area, in Kabul, in West Kabul.
Yeah.
And actually, it was in Dusty Barchi, and I went over and was just doing relief work. I'm a craniofacial plastic surgeon, so I operate on kids, and I spent the next 15 years in and out of there operating on kids, and it was good.
So you got attached to intelligence, and you got to do what you're good at, what you're trained for.
I was in a program that basically Brennan dissolved when he was DCI under Obama. So, it was just a simple country doctor. It's not the best thing to say about that.
So let's talk about if I can ask some really silly questions what relates to the CIA. I'm not a big fan. I spent times watching him, do some pretty harmful things to people all over Africa and the Middle East. By the way, did you learn Arabic, Arabic?
No, but Singe I Pashto, and I speak some Dari, and I'm fluent in Spanish. So
all right. Well,
I was first down in Central and South America. So, and it was tough. When I got to Afghanistan, I was trying to learn Farsi and Dari, and I basically would revert into Spanish, and they'd look at me like I was... It was awesome.
I was trying to learn Arabic, so I taught myself flying back and forth with Rosetta Stone. It's, you'd have 14, 16.
It was actually good, Rosetta Stone. I mean, it teaches you like you basically learn, but there's nothing like immersion.
Yeah, nothing like it.
I had a flat in Dubai, but I spent so much time in Pakistan that it was back and forth.
Well, but the thing is, I was trying to learn Arabic, and then I would go down to Kenya, and they'd have Swahili. And so you're like trying to learn Swahili in the middle of it, and your brain is just completely mush, and you're like, forget it, I'm done.
Don't go to Ethiopia, because that's the hardest language on the planet.
and it doesn't make any sense. Or Eritrea, which is right next to it.
No, it doesn't. I was there, and God bless them, I had a translator.
Well, then you have all the tribal languages too. So I mean, you're looking at 11 or 12 different language sections.
No, it's like in Guatemala, you're looking at Tiki, you're looking at all the different dialects.
Yeah.
Of the Indians. Yeah, it's
and they can't understand each other, which is why they're always fighting.
Yeah, it has a lot of parallels with a lot of different groups, but back to your point, I agree with you. The CIA, I believe, is irreparably broken. And
so I saw programs that they had, and look, you ever been like the dumb guy that walks in there and ho-hums himself around and solves problems, but then you can see bigger problems, and people are saying, oh, we're going to solve poverty. Jeffrey Sachs, Millennium Project, all over Africa, said he was going to eliminate poverty. A CIA guy, right? Now he went from being able to solve poverty to now he's an election expert and understands foreign diplomacy in Ukraine and Russia.
Oh, and he got dual Serbian passports, probably, if he understands elections, but, who knows?
That's just, I mean, that's a guess. That's a guess? Is that
just a guess. That and Venezuela and hanging out. And he has Dominion everywhere, so you never know.
And now Dominion just basically got pushed off to no ink, and you got a guy who basically, he put out an email, 3 days after the acquisition was complete and said business as usual, nothing changes. It's just another name, just kind of passing it over and moving it from one private equity firm to another.
Well, that's basically like a government program. It's like any of your SAPs, your special access programs. I mean, if they're discovered, they just become something else. I read about it in books.
Oh, it's Liberty Vote. No, it stands for liberty. It's no longer dominion to reign over you. Now it's liberty. They're giving you liberty.
Right. Well, they took a lot of liberties with a virtual machine changing votes. So they took some liberties. But going back to the central problem, which is the Central Intelligence Agency, can be. My boss, Dewey Claridge, was one of the last greats. And I remember before he passed away, he told me, he said, it can't be fixed. And a lot of it is, just like you said, there's problems and there's created problems. And unfortunately, the CIA, like a lot of government organizations, have grown to essentially these massive self-licking ice cream cones that you don't get ahead by solving problems and being successful. You get ahead by creating problems that can't be solved to spend more money on the unsolvable problem. And then you build your empire from the inside out. And the greatest loser in that, while they're getting fat, is the American people, because they forget the mission.
Yeah, we become the victims, right? We become the useful idiots in the middle of it that basically creates a slave culture. And my biggest problem with the CIA over in Africa and the Middle East is that you could see it happening. You see promises made for U.S. dollars to come over, Western influences come over and say, we're going to help build stuff up for you. And you could give them, $200 million, and they couldn't build a pit latrine, which is what World Vision tried to do in parts of Kenya, Uganda.
It goes back to not understanding. I mean, any organization, when they get too big, they lose sight of what they're there for. And of course, it allows bad actors to get involved. And so there are good people inside the CIA. And I mean, I probably talked to both of them, but I'm just kidding. There's some good people there, I'm sure. But the bigger problem is this. If you go back to the beginning, the founding of our nation, you read George Washington's farewell address. He pretty much sums up where we are today because he warned about it. And he basically said, if people lose morality and virtue, not being perfect, but having a moral compass, and then they can build what's called a faction, something where they build up their personal power inside a system. Our system allows you to do that because of the freedoms we have. And then if they have no virtue and morality, they can be influenced by foreign governments and outside influence. You get what we have in 2025, and you have a country that is teetering on the edge because the republic is not functioning as it was designed by the founders. And you have a lot of people promising the world and delivering for their special interests. And that can happen for a while. We can live off the grace of the past because we've had a great military in the past. We've had good intelligence in the past. But like all dynasties or all kingdoms, if you go to Europe, that's the best example I can give. If you go to Europe in any of the castles in any of these countries, you're going to see a big picture, a family portrait of all these ancient kings and their families. And in every portrait, there's always a dwarf in every one. Because eventually, to keep and maintain power, there's so much inbreeding that it produces a dwarf or a midget. And we've had so much inbreeding inside our government that we have a lot of mental midgets or moral dwarfs. And no society survives like that. I mean, it's the classic Wizard of Oz. They talk big, they talk loud like the wizard, but pull the curtain back and it's a midget with the microphone. And in the absence of courage, truth's an orphan.
Yeah, I mean, this is where, wow, I can't believe you actually said that, because I talk about the Wizard of Oz all the time. And having someone behind it, it's not what it looks like. And our government is one big facade that tries to exude strength. but is filled with some of the weakest, most pathetic people you'd ever find that seek out power and money because they have no talent, no ability to get things done. CIA is no different. And, you know, it's not that I don't believe that there are good people in the CIA. I do. But I think that you probably did meet both of them. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the past, our founders talked about you pledge your life, your fortune, and your sacred honor. Yeah. But today we have people that run for office that want to enhance their life, make a fortune, and be called your honor. And it's just a complete twisting of the definition of things. And the wrong definition will always take you to the wrong destination. Right. And so, you know, it's not a stretch to see that we're in a spiritual war, and it's not a stretch to see it's good versus evil. But it's all playing out on the world stage right now and here in the States. And, you know, I pray that it gets fixed, but I think we have a long way to go.
Yeah, we talk about, you know, let's just go back to COVID. Like you worked overseas, so I'm just gonna put words in your mouth right now.
Sure.
You've seen this before, right? You saw that operation like that.
Yeah, COVID.
I know COVID if I saw it, you saw it.
Well, I went and met with the National Security Advisor. I had a little conversation with him before we locked down as a nation, and I was told we can't talk about that. And
so tell me you didn't experience this with Ebola and other.
Or had they tried the same people tried to do it with bird flu in Afghanistan? The exact same people you had COVID was back in 2012, I believe, is when they actually patented the name. And so you had guys like Fauci, you had guys at EcoHealth Alliance, and all they do is they used a classic covert action to push people in a direction. I mean, if anyone who is intellectually honest can look and wonder why we had no flu cases during COVID. And we didn't because it was just a bad flu. It was a man-made bad flu. I mean, you can't have the P transfer gene in there that is man-made. So anyone that spent any time in academic medicine could look at this and know we've never locked down for anything. We've never isolated.
You could read a book and understand.
Yeah. I was so disappointed with doctors. I mean, it was just basically it was where masses move and everyone didn't want to be wrong. And I guess I never got that gene growing up. I'm not worried if I'm wrong as long as I believe what I'm doing, and then I course correct when I learn something else. And in COVID, I owned 4 urgent cares at the time, and as I owned several businesses, and I didn't treat one patient. I didn't give the vaccine to one patient. We didn't hospitalize one patient, and I treated everyone with ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, and we didn't lose 1 out of 4,000 patients up to the age of 90. And
you mean you didn't put them on high flow ventilators and?
Oh no, that's why they died. Yeah, or give them medications that are going to box their kidneys. I mean, but again, there's no intellectual honesty when you look at. I've published over 14, 15 papers in peer-reviewed journals during my training. And to get a paper published used to be a 1 to 2 year process. You would have to go before an IRB, an institutional review board. You would present the paper at a meeting. You would take questions on it. And there was good peer review. When COVID came out, all of a sudden you had papers being published without any review. You had articles submitted to journals that were literally published within 24 to 48 hours. So I remember I called some doctors I knew in Mumbai, and I asked them, I said, okay, look, I know COVID's hitting all over the world. Tell me what you guys are dealing with. And I go, you having a lot of deaths? Or you having a lot of problems? They're like, no, everything's fine. Hydroxychloroquine's 10 cents over the counter for malaria. You know, they didn't have these problems. And the interesting thing was in the intelligence community, when you have something, a mass casualty event, they go to national reconnaissance and they look at satellites and different areas, and we look for stadiums that have been turned into morgues, soccer fields, things like that. You look for mass morgues, mass treatment areas. Ironically enough, there were none. And so it didn't make any sense to me. The whole masking thing was absurd. I was just disappointed, and it really showed me that big medicine was like big government, was like the military industrial complex, we have the medical industrial complex, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just an identification of a conspiracy when you see something. And if Americans stop asking questions, we're going to go to a place that none of us want to go. I mean, we almost went there with COVID. I pray, I mean, I can guarantee you they're going to run this playbook again with something worse. It's just going to be, I mean, I know what we're seeing, and it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, so I don't think I've ever been on a podcast where someone has as much information. Look, I'm a walking encyclopedia of worthless information. I get that. I went to a state school, so I'm not that bright. My books were lighter. They had less information in them. But understanding the complexities or lack of complexities of viruses, why you shouldn't be on high-flow ventilators, the fact that we didn't need a vaccine and this was just basically a run on killing people, and it had done harm to millions of other Americans and people around the world. So this is a global, like they did this globally, which is why.
Well, and they're still doing it. You can't call it a pharmacy, a chain pharmacy that doesn't offer you a vaccine, a COVID vaccine, which is really unique because when we had the first swine flu, which was a small outbreak from Fort Detrick, I believe, you had like 100 guys get it or something, and all of a sudden we were going to vaccinate the entire U.S. population, and then we had 4 adverse events from that, and they pulled the vaccine immediately. And that was back in the 80s. You can go back and see the 60 Minutes on that. I believe it was Mike Wallace that talked about it. And now you go fast forward to today, where you have people that we are going to see the effects of this vaccine for generations. I mean, you're going to see them wiped out. And so it's no one looked at it and asked any questions. They just blindly had confirmation bias and went along with it. And, you know, I just didn't do that. And I'm no one special. A lot of people I know didn't. I called the doctors I work with in Afghanistan when COVID hit, and I said, "How are you guys doing?" They go, "We're fine." I go, "How's COVID treating you?" And they're like, "Oh, we're too poor to deal with COVID. We can't even think about it, so we don't do anything." And they didn't lose anyone.
So then, based on that, then somebody declared war on the American people. Then
they did, but again, you have to go back to root cause. I think that the problems we're having in our country today is we want to ascribe a linear structure to a multi-pronged attack on this country. And it's not that.
All right, let's hypothetically say what you're saying is accurate, which it is, right? You said that somebody told you as they were retiring that you can't fix it, that it's...
Well, he did, but as it is right now, you can't fix it. And my boss started the CTC. That was his brainchild, the Center for Counterterrorism. So let me back up and explain. In most countries, intelligence services run the country. They're the brain center of the country because they have access, unfettered, to media, to banking, to other intelligence agencies around the world. And in a moral society, and if the agency was worked as it was designed, it's under Title 50, and it's under the executive branch. They are an instrument of our president. They are supposed to give information to Congress, to the committees, to the president that they make decisions on. And it's not intelligence until it's put into a product. It's just information.
Right.
And the way you get information, there's 3 different ways. You get it from human sources, we call it HUMIT. You get it from signals, intercepts, that's SIGIT. Or you get it from geospatial, that's overhead, where you have a satellite and you're looking down, and there's combinations of it. And when you have enough good intelligence, we say we're crossing our ends. The problem is John Brennan, when he came in under Obama initially, and he was brought into the Counterterrorism Center, ironically, and the Department of Homeland Security, he was in charge of promotions for essentially 12 years, 8 years of Obama, 4 years of Biden, and there was a very subversive 4 years when President Trump was elected. And John Brennan was to understand who he is, he was the person that voted for Gus Hall back in, I believe it was 78 or something, or 76, the election. And that was the Communist Party candidate. I mean, it wasn't a small thing to vote for that. Yet he gets into the agency. And if you go to his Wikipedia, John says that he was in the operations program. No, John, you failed the operations program, so he had to go into the Directorate of Intelligence. And the CIA is essentially two directors, the DI, Directorate of Intelligence, and the DO, Directorate of Operations, where they do the spying. John failed the ops course, so he had to go into the Director of Intelligence. Now, he's a brilliant guy. He's evil, but he's brilliant. And so what he did is he bided his time. And under 12 years of controlling promotions inside the intelligence community, and they also work with the military and driving good officers out, he canceled the NOC program, the non-official cover program. He changed the requirements for promotion for case officers where they no longer had to recruit agents or spies. So he undermined the external function of the agency, and he supercharged the internal function along with Jim Clapper, the head of the DNI, Director of National Intelligence, or Michael Hayden, who was in charge of the NSA. And so you have three people with the moral compass of a cheese log working under a subversive president that history has shown. And elections have consequences.
Stolen elections have more consequences.
Right. So Obama was out in 8 years. We're living what John Brennan's doing right now, because I really believe he's running the intelligence services. I believe he's running them.
Yeah, he's definitely running the CIA. I mean, look, if there was a guy behind the scenes in Black Ops that's running things, it would have to be him.
Yeah, and he's not a good operations guy, but he's smart and he's got access to unlimited funds because the agency has not just USAID, but they have relationships with banks and black money around the world. And I mean, all you have to do is look at the problems that this administration's having, and they're going to come back to a root of the intelligence services during President Trump's first tenure.
You talked about Title 50. This will be the first time in history, we talked about it yesterday, that President Trump signaled that they were using Title 50 down in Venezuela.
President Trump, I don't believe, has had his complete Title 50 brief or his classified Title 50 brief.
But he said it.
No, he did, and I was happy. But again, there's some shiny objects. It is, but I can tell you, I don't think he's getting all the information. My boss, back when Reagan came in office, it was a similar time. Reagan came in after Carter. There was a lot of disruption in the intelligence community. And so when Reagan came in, he brought in Bill Casey, who was former OSS. I mean, Bill was William Casey, genius, DCI. And he made my boss, Dewey Claridge, Deputy Director of Operations, the DDO. And Dewey was responsible for setting up what they call the kitchen cabinet for President Reagan, which he got his information from his regular guys, but the kitchen cabinet brought him more information from outside sources that weren't tied into the ideological administration. And it gave him the questions to ask of the bureaucracy. And that's one of the reason Reagan was so successful. And what President Trump, when he came in, I was asked to come into the West Wing and help. I was there for about 3 weeks. I was asked to come in there and help with some foreign policy, so to speak. And when I came in, there was an area in the West Wing, you could see the carpet was pushed down. And when I asked, does anyone know what was there? No one knew. Well, what was there were the national security safes that President Obama had removed from the West Wing and put in his library for, I guess, 5 years back then. And that's what has all the orders for, say, a travel ban that the president's lawyers can draw from and change. But everything the president does overseas, they have to have good intelligence. My concern right now is I don't think I know unequivocally the president's not getting all the information. I think the president's brilliant.
Well,
but again, if he doesn't get the right information, and I don't think it's all nefarious. I think some people, I think the CIA is either people working against the president or they're the parable of the talons, where the agencies buried their talon and they don't even remember where they buried it. They can't even go find it because they've lost the institutional knowledge in operations. They've lost the institutional knowledge in spying and running networks. And when you do that, you have problems like, let's say, people coming from other countries into our country right now. And they do it with valid passports and visas, because if you have corruption inside your intelligence services and inside the State Department, you're going to get terrorists in your country with valid documents. And that's what we have right now.
All right. So one of the things that I noticed when I was overseas is that the CIA guys were wicked smart. They were, and I mean wicked as in bad wicked, but they were wicked smart, super smart. But their competency was near zero. So they were really smart, but I would not, I mean, look, I was a guy that was able to maneuver situations when someone would ask me to do something, and I shouldn't have been able to maneuver it. Like, I'm not a part of the intelligence community. I shouldn't be able to outsmart a guy that has access to unlimited amounts of information in order to get something done that I needed to get done in that particular country, right? Normally, you shouldn't be able to do that, should you?
Well, you shouldn't, but unless you had a good boss, you were hamstringed. If you saw someone you needed to...
So you mean they saw it, they knew what I was doing, but they let me do it?
Oh, yeah, you would have been access agent. They would have just, let him do it, let Mikey do it. No, I never had those problems because I had a great boss. I mean, I'm sure I wouldn't want to read my file. Me either. But I wouldn't want to read my file.
My problem is that people lie about those files, right? So the people would come and say, hey, look, you got to leave your passport here, and we'll be back. And 2 days later, you're up in some part of Sudan that's not sanctioned, called Kanana Sugar.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at Afghanistan. Look at Afghanistan when we left. When an intelligence service leaves or when the military leaves, there's something called a burn down, where you put all your electronics and these grinders. I mean, you could stick a bowling ball in it, it's going to tear it up. Yeah. You burn all the documents because you don't want to leave anything behind, not just for the Afghans, but let's say for the Chinese, the Iranians, the Russians, whoever's going to have access to your classified or important information. Let's just say things were reported destroyed that weren't, that have to do with passports, that have to do with visas. And I still have good contacts, and I can tell you that you have people that have been trained in some pretty nefarious things with good documents that have been moved through Central America into Mexico and into the United States as part of a plan to undermine this government. And that's just a fraction of what's going on right now.
So the CIA lost USAID. You're saying they have full access to other black ops money, unlimited amounts of cash.
They do.
Dismantle it?
Well, you have to stop it by stopping the person that's causing the problems, and that's John Brennan. The way President Reagan would have done it if he had this situation, and the way the Title 50 authorities work, is the president would request of the Senate, this theoretically, but this is what my boss would teach me, is the president would ask the Senate to pull the guy's citizenship or passport, and then he would send some special military representatives to go pick him up. But again, you can't stop someone if he has other people working with him. If you have people in the NSA that are intentionally withholding intercepts and information from this administration, I would call that a problem. If you have people in the CIA and big leadership programs that are compromised and controlled, I would call that a problem. And any information brought to the president, he's going to check it through a system that is working against him. If you use the poison M&M example, people say, well, one of those M&Ms could be poison. I would say 70% of the M&Ms in that bowl are poison. And so what the president needs is a kitchen cabinet. He needs a group of senior officers that haven't lost their morals, their virtue, or their access, that can give him the questions to ask. And then if you go after the leaders first that are causing the problems, a lot of people that are following will just shrivel up and go away. Those that don't, you do what's called the single issue polygraph. And that's the way you find people that are being subversive. You had, go back and look at the Nicholson case. I worked with a senior officer that was involved in bringing Nicholson down. And that's where the CIA senior officer worked with the DOJ, and they were very successful in prosecuting that guy. But you're never going to have a former trial of John Brennan. He's a former DCI. Has too many secrets. You're not going to have that of someone like a Michael Hayden, who has been the DCI and the head of the NSA, which is not the best idea to have. But when you have these folks that have the unlimited relationships and that they truly are potentially doing some pretty seditious things, and they have the momentum, they have the money, and they have the structure in place, and you do not have a strong functioning intelligence service that's serving the needs of the president. And I know it's not popular when I say that, but it's just the truth. So
how many Judases do you think we're dealing with? How many Brutuses, so to speak? I mean, I see a little bit of. I'm not saying that President Trump has a God complex, but he's a very important figure in history, and that leads me down the fact that he's got lots of people that are giving him they're either holding back information they should be giving him, which should secure and solve these problems, one of which I think is the election systems. They either hold it back, so they're doing it for selfish interest, or they're completely walking him off a cliff, of which they're doing it because they want to actually hurt him.
It's a combination. You have some that are doing it because they're so afraid to be wrong, or we used to say you can't bring a big turd and lay it on the president's desk.
Fear of loss.
So they're fear of loss. And it's either self-serving, self-fear, or it's nefarious. The problem is we're at a point in our nation's history where none of that works. Like I said, I started the program with people in Washington create problems that can't be solved to put more money behind the unsolvable problem.
Right.
The reason President Trump scares the deep state and terrifies it is because I think I'm a lot like President Trump in my companies, is I don't pay people to work. I pay them to solve problems. And President Trump solves problems. You can look at his history going back to New York. I mean, my parents lived and worked in New York. And I remember my dad telling me stories about how President Trump, when he was Donald, could just see a project, not just see how it could be fixed, but see what it could become and how it would add value 10, 20 years down the line. That kind of forward thinking is a terminal event for a large bureaucracy that lives by self-perpetuating its and growth and just gaining weight because they're a parasite on the American population. And I think the only way they keep it from President Trump is they prevent him from getting the information. I was screened out for 3 weeks. Every time they tried to rush me up to the Oval Office to talk to him, one of his aides or his chief of staff would run him out the back. Reince Priebus would, and someone would make a phone call. Hey, they're coming up. I don't hold out a lot of hope that I'll talk to him, but I pray someone does and lets him know that there's a group out there that can help him that doesn't want anything. And I think there's a lot. I think there's some good people in the bureaucracy that if they saw action taking place instead of reaction to bad things, then they would step forward and speak truth. But you have one of the biggest crises we've ever had in our nation. I mean, if you study Yuri Bezmenov at all, we're in a demoralization stage on steroids overlapping a crisis stage. And I think that the deep state, or whatever you want to call them, have to push this as fast as they can, and they either make his presidency ineffective, which will demoralize the nation, or they just crater everything. And I don't think a COVID thing is going to be the biggest thing we see. I think they're going to push for a digital currency and hit us with everything at once till it all craters, and then push us so we can be controlled. And you know, you only do that if you control the intelligence services and you keep the information from the president.
So, you know, I feel like he's in Venezuela for a reason. I think he's there because of the election systems. I think that's the genesis of all the things that happen in the country. You could say that it's because of drugs, but I mean, that's not the logical nexus for even drugs coming out of South and Central America. Anybody that's even not in intelligence that spent any time in South and Central America knows that, right? So they're blowing up these boats off the shores. Maybe that's a cover. I just don't feel like, I feel like there's a little bit of misdirection happening down there. Then you start looking at what's happening, and maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong, but it feels off.
It's way off. It's here's the thing. Again,
so
John
I'm
Brennan,
off, or you have
no.
you
They
think I'm
are
onto something?
You're not off. It's okay. Here's the thing. It's Venezuela's not our threat.
Correct.
Our threat is, and I'll build this out for you. Venezuela is a problem that we need to deal with. But so is Colombia, where Pietro is, because a lot of the Venezuelan troops and militias and former military are in Colombia building up. Nicaragua is a problem because in Bluefields, you've had multiple groups of Iranian and Chinese come ashore in Nicaragua and make their way up through Huawei and Guatemala into Mexico.
Well, Guatemala is a problem for us too, because I mean,
it is, but it's mainly a transit. You have, and the biggest problem we have that no one has seen is just south of our border, you have a complete narco state. And Claudia Sheinbaum, President Sheinbaum of Mexico, has no control. It's being run by CJ&G, and they've even folded in the Sinaloa cartel, I believe, inside. So you have the logistics and financial resources of some of the strongest cartels in the world. You have the technical resources and military resources of China that have brought in helicopters, drones, men, equipment, missile systems into Mexico. You have them being supported by the cartels. You've had 12 million that we know of that crossed the border during the Biden administration that we don't know who, where, what, when. And at the same time, you have the largest Iranian embassy in the world in Mexico City, which is interesting because Mexico does no trade with Iran.
Yeah.
Nothing. So you have command and control, logistics support. You have high-end intelligence services because, don't kid yourself, Venezuelan intelligence, Cuban intelligence, some of the best in the world. And they have the rat lines. They have the way to move things. So theoretically, let's just go down that rabbit hole. Theoretically, you could have a bunch of suitcase EMP devices distributed out in major areas around our nation. At the same time, you could have multiple small armed groups that could be activated, working in kind of like a symphony from city to city that could be orchestrated to move at the same time. You could have maybe the Chinese, the Iranians, the cartels buying lots of first responder uniforms so that they could have a lot of blue on blue problems, secondary effects coming after primary effects. You could have IEDs. You could have a group of Antifa training in IED technology in Afghanistan right now. Maybe it's happening. You could have all these things going on and the ability to cross into the United States with good credentials and good passports. And this is the kicker. It could all be aided and abetted by a former director of Central Intelligence who knows where the weaknesses are, knows how to get money, and knows how to manipulate current leaders, whether by coercion or they just want to work with him. So, yeah, I think we have a real problem. So do I see Venezuela as our biggest problem? No. Our biggest problem is going to happen here within the next 60 to 90 days, and it's going to make 9/11 look like a tea party if we don't get ahead of it.
And that's where you and I agree fully. And, it's tough having this conversation with you because I've talked to operators all the time that are in the combat zones that I got to see when I was over there. And, I don't talk a lot about that because I never worked for the government. People would ask me to do stuff while I was there. And I actually was there for humanitarian for mostly, right? So I just wanted people to stop killing each other. And so if I got an opportunity to build something or do something that would help, I did. And didn't matter who you were, if you asked me to do it and it helped, I would do it. Sudan, Darfur, whether or not there was ethnic cleansing or genocide going on there wasn't. Never existed. Susan Rice lied about that, right? Yeah, I mean, I could.
That's Susan Rice that worked with John Brennan. Yeah.
Yeah, Susan, I mean, she went to Bashir first in Sudan and said, hey, we want you to do a bunch of things for us. And he's like, yeah, I'm not interested. So then she went to the UN and said, oh, by the way, he's killing a bunch of people up north. And then he went and, paid off people in the Libyan army and Chadian army and Libyan army and the Janjaweed and funded the 43 Darfurian rebel groups. And
you had to create a problem to put money into a problem to direct resources from omnibus bills and things like that.
Yeah.
And
they had resources, though. This is all about resources. Same as between splitting up the country between North and South Sudan because they had the Abyei district, high. Then they found the uranium, right? So now you have uranium deposits. You have oil in this oil-rich country run by, a guy that's been there for decades. And they got to get him out of there. So they got to lie and have him charged with genocide and ethnic cleansing and, try to send him to the keg. And it took him 20 years, but they got it done. He's out now. And you have, Ali Cardi, who was deputy foreign minister, that's now trying semi to get involved in it. And now you have puppets that basically run that country. Puppets that run that country and just basically milk it for every dollar that's worth. And Susan Rice, again, just walks around with impunity, leading to the death and destruction of millions of people over those different countries. It's just, man, I thought I was out of this, by the way. I thought I was done in 2012 or 2013, and that I could walk away from it. I got tired of the stupid little black suit assholes at the airports asking me questions like, well, how much money did you bring back? And who'd you talk to? And I'm like, I didn't talk to anybody. It's like they knew where I was. I'd leave my passport somewhere, they knew. Show up at the airport, I 100% was going to miss my flight to get home because they would stick me in a little room and question me for 4 or 5 hours. So I thought I was done until 2020. And then all of a sudden, I got to jump back into this deal by accident because I'm seeing this operation that I saw largely over there. I saw it. And you're right, 60 to 90 days? Bro, Doc,
well,
I think you're being generous.
Well, no, we don't know. And the problem is,
it's going to hit like a freight train.
It is if they don't get the right information. It could be stopped. It could be fixed. But look, in the absence of courage, truth's an orphan.
Yeah.
So no one's going in there and speaking it. And look, we're in a biblical spiritual war. And I came to Christ late in life at 45 and had to be blown up to get there. And the evil that I see, and I don't believe that I've been in these places by accident. When you realize who God is and who you're not, it's really life altering. And I don't believe there's certain people in areas of power that just have no virtue. And I'm not saying being perfect or anything. I'm saying they just won't speak truth, that won't say right or wrong, or they're cowards. And I don't think that's President Trump. I don't think that's Pete Hegseth. I think he has good leaders. But the other thing is the leaders he has in place have never been bosses in the system. They were junior guys, and that's not a slam on them. That's just the reality. And they need to get the right support, the right structure. You don't need a bunch of C-schedule hoppers jumping around trying to do the right thing. And the American people, I believe that if this country's saved, it's going to be by a remnant, and it's going to be by the American people just not buying into the propaganda and the lies. And I think that the information's getting out there. I think President Trump, I think he's there for a reason. And I think he will do the right thing if he has the right information. I just don't believe that he's getting all the information. And
Well,
we can't be reactive anymore. We have to be proactive. This is going to get fixed.
All right. Well, then how do we do that when we keep being told that we've solved the issue with free speech? X is back on the bucket of basically silencing anyone that is not, Viva Israel. And look, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, the whole thing is just nonsensical. It's like we're catered to the ridiculous. We still want to cut off penises. We got DEI stuff that they're fighting. I've talked to people that are closely related to ambassadors that are holdovers from the Biden administration, over 60 now, over 60 of them still, that are telling countries, hey, don't worry about it, it'll be back to business as usual in 2026.
Because they have no morals. I mean, look, if you really want to know why we're suffering so much, I lay it right at the foot of the American church.
Brilliant.
Because what we did is, when in the 80s, we changed as a nation because we forgot what it means to be free. I mean, our freedom is from God. It's not from anyone else. But pastors decided to talk about prosperity instead of posterity.
Wow.
They didn't want independence. They just wanted attendance. And instead of speaking truth, they changed it to tolerance. And if you forget your past, you'll never secure your future. And as a nation,
Galatians 4:16, am I the enemy because I tell you the truth?
Exactly. And the thing is this, if you want to know what's going on in the world, it's real simple. Read the Bible. You have, what did Satan do to get Eve to fall? Number one, he made her doubt truth. He said, God said you don't do that, but it's just because he doesn't want you to be like him. He made her doubt her identity. He made her doubt God is good. Wouldn't a good God let you do that? And then so he makes you doubt your identity. He makes you doubt God is good. And then when you sin, she felt like a victim. And when you become a victim, that gives you the right to rebel. So if you look at that, it's the same playbook that every government uses when they want to be successful. They have to divide based on identity. They have to make you believe that God's not good. And then they have to make you a victim. So then that gives you the right to rebel. You're owed something. That's what I love about President Trump. He doesn't believe that you're owed anything. He believes in meritocracy, which is why the founding was. The Constitution is about meritocracy. And the enemy, Satan, wants you to believe that you're owed something, that you don't have to do it. And people that are given things never appreciate it. And because it's not in your nature. And the interesting thing is God created us in his image. That's why Satan wants to have people get abortions, because you kill the thing God loves the most. Have people change your image through transgender and things like that. It's not that it's attack on the image, that because that's what drives Satan crazy. And the reason our nation was so successful is you had people that understood what it meant for freedom, and they knew it came from God. If you read back in some of George Washington's letters, the night before they crossed the Delaware, he was talking to, I believe it was Benjamin Rush. He was a surgeon, so I think about Rush. And he was one of his best friends, like his prayer partner. And he and Rush were talking, and he said, tonight, put no one on duty but true Americans. And of course, they were all Americans, but Washington wrote later that he meant by true Americans is America was spiritual.
Yeah.
It wasn't just a piece of dirt. It was a covenant before God. And so he wanted people that were going to be on watch, that understood the spiritual nature of what this nation means. And so, you fast forward now, and we push God out of the schools. When you couldn't come to this country in 1943 without getting the Handbook of the American Citizen, which talked all about God and God being in schools and the family. And so if we're going to save this nation, and if we're going to get back to first principles, we're going to strengthen the family. We're going to strengthen truth. And what do liberals try to do? They say, well, there's no longer truth, there's your truth. And of course, we don't you don't need a man around, toxic masculinity. You don't need a father, a family. And the Bible understood all this. I mean, if you look up the Hebrew word for father, it means restrainer. If you look at the Hebrew word for mother, it means nurturer. But the fascinating thing is, if you look up the Hebrew word, it's a Paleo Hebrew, it's a picture of anger, and it means, where is the father? And so what we did is the Great Society ran the father out of the house. And then it just said, we don't need that. And you take parental rights away and you make people belong to the state. And it's communism, but it's just evil. And so as a nation, I believe the way we get back to it is we get back to first principles. And we call truth, truth. And we don't go to iniquity, which is calling good bad and bad good. I don't know, like gender affirmation or reproductive health care when you're killing a baby. I mean, this is iniquity. And I was the worst person on the planet before I got saved. But truth is truth.
Bro,
I mean,
gotta tell
well, you understand this, that we're all saved by grace. 100%. And you can't earn it. But once you're saved, and this is what I would tell the church, is once you're saved, they know them by their fruit. Yeah, you work that out. People know who you are. Look, I can't love some people. It's impossible for me to do, but Christ in me, no problem. I can't forgive people, but Christ in me, no problem. You just need less of you and more of him. And if we had people that understood that in the intelligence communities, when they're reporting, when they're briefing, you can't stop this nation. I mean, I can't tell you the number of miracles I saw in the field that I shouldn't be here. And I mean, we all got to see a miracle in HD color when President Trump turned his head before that shot hit.
100%. But President Trump said something very interesting at Charlie's funeral. He goes, "Yeah, I hate people. I hate my enemy." And you could see you could see the darkness kind of creep up in him because and somebody just said in the comments, they said, "Joe, do you have dual personalities?" Because sometimes I'm a warrior. I just want to fight. And my friends are right.
But you can be a glorified warrior. Look, I'm a warrior. I mean, if I showed up,
it's throw someone around like a rag doll.
I've never done that before. If I showed up, it was the best day of your life or the last one. I mean, it was. They're just saying maybe. But the thing is this. But that's not my identity. My identity is, look, if it's a righteous war, I'm all in.
Right.
But the thing is this, God can't work with pride.
Yeah, I know.
And he can't work with we have to die to ourselves. And the thing is, we have gotten away from the heart posture in this nation. The reason you mentioned Charlie Kirk, Charlie was a dear friend of mine. I was at his wedding, and I can tell you that everything you think wonderful about Charlie is true.
Yeah.
And the reason Charlie will live on generationally, not just on social media, is Charlie's heart posture was what Charlie said. A lot of people said the same things Charlie did, but they didn't live the life Charlie lived when no one was looking.
Loved people.
He did. And not only that, but Charlie, I got a lot of Charlie stories, but Charlie was the message. And what we have to become is, look, I'm worst in the world, but I can be that person through redemption. And that's what the left doesn't want people to understand. You don't have to stay the same way. You don't have to be a victim. I mean, I'm not a victim, and I've had terrible things happen in my life. I've had amazing things happen. It's just you live your life and you do your calling. And if people will step into their purpose, the Bible says that he orders the steps of a righteous man and that he wrote our chapters in a book. And I believe that. This is one of the most difficult times in our history. I believe I was born for this time because clearly I'm here. So were you.
Yeah.
And if more people will get out and speak the truth. And the thing is this, if you have, in our church, I think one of the biggest failings we had in our church is they loved Jesus always, but they didn't fear God.
Amen.
And if you fear God, you don't fear anything else. But if you don't fear God, you pretty much fear everything else. And you fear acceptance. You fear, it's not just that lion rushing at you. You fear what people think. You fear, look, in government, am I going to be right? Am I going to be wrong? Do I let this guy talk to the president or am I going to be wrong? Fear. I mean, fear is what shuts you down. I mean, I heard one of my best friends, I only have one, his wife said something the other day, and I'll never forget it. She was talking about someone, she said, oh, that's a zoo lion. It's people in their element, they can be very tough. John Brennan is a zoo lion. A lot of our politicians are zoo lions. What we need are more lions of Judah, people that will come out and say the truth, act on their conviction. And I believe that that's the heart of this country. And that's what we have to do as a nation. We have to pull together, go back to first principles. It's interesting, if you look at the end of the Old Testament, the last chapter oh man, this is getting, I'm that tired today. I've been operating all day. The last book of the Old Testament, help me out here.
Revelation.
No, Old Testament.
Oh, Old Testament.
It means messenger, and I'm just blanking on it. Well, producer, someone's going to help us with it.
Yeah.
But the last chapter, I think, is chapter 4, and it means messenger, and I'm just blanking on it. In the paragraph, the last sentence. You got it. Last book in the Old Testament. Some of your folks call it in.
With me. Malachi.
Malachi means messenger. Malachi, I think it's 4.
What is wrong with me?
Hey, I had that brain fart too. And
I should be able to compliment you. I should be able
No, that's okay. Hey, we're not perfect. But it says, I will turn the hearts of fathers. I will send someone with the spirit of Elijah, turning the hearts to fathers to sons, and sons and daughters to fathers. Or if that doesn't happen, I'll strike it with a curse. So we're at a point in our nation where we're going to decide, are we going to live under the curse or are we going to live under the blessing? And the blessing doesn't come by good living. It comes by what Charlie was, good being.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that heart posture. Look, when I got saved in 2008, I changed completely. And my career actually got even better. But
Bro,
it changed.
We're going to have to...
It changed because I realized, man, it's him, not me. And the thing is, the church has taken sin out. I mean, they don't talk about sin as a first name. Look, I was a bad sinner. I'm not that guy anymore. I don't do the things I used to do. Not me, Christ in me. I don't even care what people think. And the nice thing is, when you're like that, when you're like Charlie, then you can do things because your driver is your identity, and my identity is Christ. And when people understand that and their identity, that's what scares the enemy. That's how you beat a rogue intelligence community. That's how you beat something. Someone said the other day, man, there's no way we're going to fix this. I go, awesome. That means only God can do it, and that's the only place I want to be. And if it's not fixed in my lifetime, then it gets fixed in someone else's. But we can't worry anymore. We can't have fear. Yeah. I mean, it's got to be, fear has to be a non-starter. And I believe President Trump's a Christian, but he was like me, a really bad Christian when I first got saved. I was a terrible Christian. But I think that President Trump needs people that speak the truth to him, succinctly, straightforward, without a chaser. And if he finds that, if he gets his kitchen cabinet, then I think our best years are ahead of us. If it doesn't, we're going to live through some interesting times. And we'll just have to see.
Dr. Rose, I got to have you on again because I want to talk about your faith walk. Mine was in 2007.
Very cool.
It was November of 2007. And I could almost tell you to the day, like how it came about. Actually, I could tell you to the day, but I was just not a good guy. I was a great dad. I was a horrible husband.
You lived in your head.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, I tell people I was a dumpster fire, but not the dumpster fire like the regular one, the kind of one with homeless poo in it. I was that dumpster fire.
Look,
you know,
I've lived a near
I had
perfect
kids.
life
I
the
didn't
last
even
18
know
years.
what they had for lunch. I had spent all my time overseas. I was so miserable. Everyone's like, oh, he's so brave to volunteer for this. No, I didn't want to come home. I thought at least I'll die. I didn't know who I was. I worked for so many 3-letter agencies that I didn't know who I was. My identity was so jacked.
Well, I gotta go get on
terrible.
an airplane. I took this all the way to the bitter end, but brother, I want to have you back on again and go through this again. Not this, but more of the journey. I want people to hear it.
Yeah, we can do it. And I'll tell you, you can ask me anything about. I would tell your audience, pay attention right now. There could be some bad things happening. If they do, don't panic. Your community, your local community, know your county sheriffs. Have community, know your churches. We don't have to be a nation that fears. We just have to be an obedient nation to our first principles and to God. And I think, we'll be okay. It's going to get weird.
All right. Doc, how can people follow you? Start there.
Sounds good. Well, thanks for having me on.
How do people follow you? Can you hear me? Dr. Rose, can you hear me?
I can't. I'm sorry. My internet's probably, it doesn't usually do this, but I probably said too many keywords and before it's like just pounding.
Hey, you're on
right
with
now.
me. I get censored on every platform, including Rumble and the ones that say they don't. So
yeah, I have a podcast and it's just because it's cheaper than therapy.
There's a lot of truth to that. How do people follow you? That's a scalpel.
Honestly, I don't even know. You can listen to the podcast if you have trouble sleeping, and that's the Scalpel with Dr. Keith Rose. And it's
and at the Scalpel Edge.
At the Scalpel Edge, yeah. I should know all this stuff. I don't.
All right. Well, I'm going to have you back on. I got to run because I got to go to this deal.
Roger.
This deal, but God bless you, brother. Thank you for coming on, and thank you for the work you did. And it's affirmation hearing that you think that they're total shit in the CIA too.
Nah, that's an insult to shit. I'll leave you with this. This.
Yeah.
Tell your audience to dig into this. They commissioned a report after COVID to evaluate the efficacy of the agency during COVID. And during COVID, they were shut down. They only worked at 10%. They only worked, the 80% was furloughed. They only worked at 20%, but only 10% was allowed in the building at any one time. And they did this long study, and it showed they were more effective at 10% than they were at 100%. So, President Trump's got it right there. Early outs. Yeah. Bye-bye.
Yeah. All right. God bless you, brother. Did I lose you? All right. I lost him. All right. I'm going to pray us out, okay? And, he is? Oh, he did. He was saying bye to the.
I said bye to someone else. I see him again. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, Doc, I'll see you again soon. We'll have you back on. I'll get your information from Tommy so we can connect. And
you have my cell. Call anytime.
All right. God bless you.
Yep.
All right. We're gonna pray us out because I got to get to the airport. I've got about an hour and 10 minutes before we board and leave. Always cutting it close. So let's go ahead and pray. Father God, thank you for the opportunity to have these two great men be on the podcast today. Thank you for the knowledge that they have and for the message of both peace, hope, and perseverance. Father, there's so much that we really want to be able to do. We want to get to a place of restoration where we can be the vessels that you can use in order to restore goodness, to restore you to our community and to our country. Father, I ask you to give us the grace, give us the strength, give us the courage to continue through all the different trials and tribulations that we may face by doing your will. Father, we recognize that evil has been turned into good and good to evil, and we reject that, Father. And we are here and we know that we each and every one of us can serve a purpose. So help us, we may set aside petty differences, may start to get to the place where we can be warriors for you, Father. I ask these things humbly in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, guys, I'll see you guys later. Be good. Remember that Pray, stand, speak, act. You got to start every day with prayer. You got to stand up. Always be on your feet when you're speaking. Always speak truth, and make sure that you act. It's all biblical. And when you get done acting and doing things to actually make things better and to restore God to our community, go back to prayer so you never become the very thing that you're fighting against. All right, God bless you. I'll see you soon.
Rise up untamed in the heart of the fire where the wild ones roam. Joe Oltmann's calling, bringing truth back home. From conservative daily to this untamed fire, we shatter the silence, lifting spirits higher. No chains can hold us, no lies can prevail. Authentic and fearless on this rugged trail. Patriots gather under stars and stripes. Untamed nation, igniting the night. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong. Yeah, untamed and wild, forever strong. Play it again all night long. Break the mold, chase the real. No more games, time to heal. Joe's voice leads the untamed crew. Truth matters through and through. Untamed nation, let the truth roll out in this land of the free. Standing proud from sea to shining sea, we won't back down. Catch the fire, wear the crown. Untamed nation, it's our battle song, motivating hearts where the brave belong.